Hello and welcome to Infamous, the audio podcast. This is Brandon or Mutilus on Discord.
This is Parker, go by One Who Parks on Discord.
This is Jeremy, just Jeremy.
This is Aaron. I go by Truffinwood.
Welcome back to another expiring and exhilarating episode of Infamous. First off, quick announcements. Parker, good news. You're down to 1,522 probationary episodes.
Hot
Jesus.
damn.
Just clearing those out finally. For new listeners, Parker gets probationary episodes when he does bad things like push women down the stairs and show up late.
Don't you wish that on me? You picked one thing. You can say anything there, but you picked one thing that I've seen happen before, and that was the only time I ever thought about striking a child was when I heard that one of my students had done that to another student.
They pushed another student down the stairs
to try to get her to abort their unborn child. That's
what?
He thought
a student.
Yeah, he thought.
Wait. There's a whole story here. I had no idea this happened.
This is an actual thing. When I taught in KCK, I had two 14-year-old students. One of them had got the other one pregnant. They were both in my class. Not at the same time, but both of them were my students. And the boy thought that he could get his girlfriend to abort by shoving her down the school steps, the stairs, like a flight of stairs in the school. And so he pushed her down. I caught him on cameras, of course. Also, she was bruised and a little bloody.
Yeah, obviously injured.
When I heard that he had done that, it was the first time I ever wanted to get up from what I was doing and go beat someone within an inch of their life. I didn't do it. I white knuckle the table.
I can tell because you're not in prison.
And I remember a teacher looking over. He was like, "Parker, you okay?" I was like, "I want to do a terrible, terrible thing. I will not do it, but I want to." I have never heard of anyone that I know doing something so absolutely terrible. So when you made that comment, you picked the one thing that I've actually had in my life before that I'm just like, oh no, I could never, ever. Weird note to start the podcast on, but let's go.
That was a fun and interesting announcements. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah.
Can we give him another 1,000 because of that? Because that kind of bummed me out.
I'm going to make it 2522. It's also a more round number.
That'll teach him. Don't do that again.
Bad story time.
Don't bring that bad choo-choo here.
Bad story time. All right, here we go. 2522. Moving on. Parker, what's next?
News.
Hey,
news!
So we got Psylocke's card. Psylocke is a 4-cost character. She has 6 health on the front side, 5 health on the back side. She is size 2, a medium mover. She's got 3 physical, 3 energy, and 4 mystic defense. She has a builder, which is 5 dice, range 2. She can choose whether it's energy or mystic. And then she, on a wild neural disruption, which before damage is dealt, for each wild, the character loses 1. So it's one of those that actually stacks for the wilds you roll. She has a range attack called Psy Bow, range 4, 4 dice, mystic also. It does build 1 power for her, and on a hit, it has Pursuit, which is before damage is dealt, she may advance short. She has a spender that costs 3. It has 7 dice, range 3, and it's called Psionic Assault. It's a mystic attack. Before damage is dealt, the target character gains stun. So she's the second character in the game that gives stun before damage is dealt. The first one being Mystique, if I'm not mistaken.
I think that's true.
Yeah.
I'm not 100%.
Spider-Woman is number 2.
Oh, Spider-Woman also. Okay. So, interesting. She has the ability to called Telekinetic Combat Enhancement for 2 power. She advances short and adds 2 dice to her katana attack. She has the ability to telepathic precognition, which for X power she can reroll dice. It says any number. Yeah, there's no cap, so every any number of power she can reroll any number of dice.
Yeah, attacking or defending.
Yeah. Once per turn.
It is only once per turn. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And she has Martial Artist as a passive and Stealth as a passive.
So, who would like to go first with first impressions?
She seems like a really strong 3-point model. I don't know. She's very strange. It's like a bad, killable, broken, like weird-ass MODOK kind of thing with this side bow.
Okay.
I will say she is top of the bell curve for random hot take. I think she kills stuff really well because as soon as she gets mixed up with it, she's going to be doing her what is in essence a short charge for a 7 dice builder.
That has rerolls.
Yeah. So she reminds me a little bit of Sentinel Prime, right? So he's an 8 dice builder with 3 rerolls. She's a 7 dice with 3 rolls. That just funds itself.
Yeah, but her builder doesn't cost 3.
But it costs 2 if you do it with the telepathic precognition. Sorry,
Sure.
the combat enhancement. So she's
Yeah.
spending 2 to get 7. He spends 3 to get 8. They're basically the same, but she's going to be much more in the thick of it because it's range 2. And I've played Prime a little bit. He's still on my list of people I want to put on the table because he will just yeet people off the board if used as a turret as opposed to a reroll bot. And then on the defense, you said she just dies? Yes and no.
I don't think she just dies.
I think martial artist, the ability to reroll all, and some synergies like Strange, like give her 5 dice, the ability to reroll and count blanks. That sounds not bad. Now, having played a bunch of martial artist characters, sure, you just stay out of 2 inside of 3, and life's really sad for you. So I don't think
problem,
she's. Go ahead.
Biggest problem, obviously, is she has no defense against throws. So she can't reroll against throws. She can't count blanks against throws. Stealth doesn't work, obviously. So she is very vulnerable to collisions compared to all of her other ways to suffer damage. Kind of like Cap is. Although Cap has 4 physical, she doesn't even have that.
Yep.
I do agree, though. I think she's very competitive as a kit goes because she's got action economy, she's got dice mod, she's got dice manipulation, she's got valuable damage types, and some interesting attacks.
I could definitely see her being taken for her damage types in factions that want that. She'll probably be in X-Men. X-Force don't have a lot of mystic attacks base. So I could absolutely see her being slotted in as either a regular piece, depending on how she plays, or a tech piece against, say, Panther and Steve and some other pieces that just don't like mystic. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think she's very independent. She gets better if she has something to help her, like give her power maybe, or give her a reroll maybe. But she already will do that because, like you said, her primary thing you want to do on turn 2 is spend 2 to move and then roll 7 dice with energy or mystic, whatever you want. And then she gets all the power from that. She'll just keep her train going. So she's very independent as a character, which is cool. Also, I love stealth characters that are independent because that means you could throw her over on, to pick something up on turn 1 and she's not automatically going to get deleted. She'll have to get pulled off of the midline, or have somebody very strange character that can go all the way to her on the midline. So I think it's interesting that she has all the things you'd want a kind of a soloist to have. She has that, and like you said, in the X-Men, which she'll most likely be in, doesn't have a lot of soloists. You usually have to take the soloists as their kind of off-brand, off X-Men character. So maybe this is one more character that could benefit from like their tactics cards and things like that. But you can count on to just go over there in the corner and be just fine and probably kill things.
Aaron, I know we talked a lot on our car ride to Des Moines about affecting the middle line. Do you think stealth makes a noticeable impact on survivability on the middle line? Because from what I recall, it doesn't.
I concur. I do not think having stealth as a turn 1 play to avoid being shot off the board is valid. I think it comes more into play throughout the game when your opponent realizes, oh, I actually have to walk to within 3. I can't do that. Or they have to position themselves poorly to be able to get to within 3. So I don't think stealth is the end-all, be-all turn 1. I think it comes into play more later on.
But it's not worthless, you would say?
Oh, it's definitely not worthless, depending on the team setup, right? Mm-hmm. Like, S.H.I.E.L.D. would love to, have Bucky walk up once and then shoot you from outside of 3, inside of 4, etc.
The relevant attackers on the first turn are people like Cable and Bucky, usually, that are going to not ignore stealth.
or like Rhino and Logan, who absolutely ignore stealth because they can attack from within 3. So that's why stealth helps against some characters and is completely useless against others. So you can't
I think a lot of the meta right now is range 3 or less. But the thing I really like about her is the telekinetic combat enhancement. Because she has martial artist and the ability to move without costing an action. She can close that range 3 gap on people without wasting an action, which puts them in an awkward spot of do they want to back up to try and kill you? Because with rerolls, you're very resilient. And so you'll get people like Hood in a situation where it's like, well, do I back up to shoot you? And so they back up, they only get the one shot, they might not hit the rapid fire. All of a sudden, you get 75% damage reduction just because you put them in a weird spot and they made a bad decision. And so I like that.
Hood's a bad example, but anyone with not mystic attacks, I concur. Mystique, for example.
Sure. Well, it not for his claws though, but yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. She still has she doesn't get the martial arts in the rapid fire example. That was a bad one. But rapid fire in general.
Yep. So yeah, I think she's totally fine, like not bad, but not like, oh my god, breaking the meta. So I like the release.
I think this is a solid 4-point option because I think you could easily take a look at this model and find a lot of places where she fits well, but also not go, well, I have to throw away a current model I own and buy this.
Besides, she'll probably have a tactics card that's, online with deception. So
that would be unfortunate.
Yeah, that would be.
Any final thoughts?
They're creating a lot of 4-point models that are pretty cool.
Yeah. I think the 4-point models nowadays are very intriguing, much more like Black Panther is, and while not being as powerful as Black Panther. All right, moving on. Our next topic is going to be currently playing. I think we are all pretty much playing new lists at this point, so this should be fun. Who wants to go first?
Aaron, why don't you talk to us about mashing people's face with fucking Ulik?
Okay, I will.
Stupid whore.
Why did we do this? Actually, let's skip this segment. We're going to go past this. Go
no. So I played 10 games in the past week since we've recorded stuff, mainly due to our weekly game night and then our trip up to Iowa.
It's an excursion.
The excursion to Iowa.
Yeah, excursion.
First of all, awesome group of guys over with Muse. Had a blast hanging out with them and would love to do it again sometime soon. But
shout out Nigel, John, Colin, Josh, and who am I forgetting? Wasn't there 5? Oh, Nick was also there.
Yeah, I played Nigel, John, and Colin, and Josh. Anyways, but this started out on Thursday, and I decided to pick one of the random new releases, and it just happened to be Ulik, because it was in Criminals, and I had never theory crafted Ulik in Criminals, because that was a surprise to a lot of people. I had an absolute blast playing Ulik. I don't think he's broken, because he can fail hard, but oh my god, I've never had so much fun in MCP as playing Ulik. An example, in my first game, played with Shadowland Daredevil, because sure, you'd like to get 7 dice instead of 6, effectively. Waited to go last. I'm playing him with Wong, because obviously you want to turn Ulik on turn 1. So he gets to do his, I forget what it's called.
Crushing Leap.
Yes, there you go. Crushing Leap. Turn 1 onto the middle. Daze, whatever it was, Domino. Get enough power. Crushing Leap onto the back Gamma point. Almost daze Bucky and be like, pass turn. By the way, I have priority, so next turn I'm just going to kill Bucky, Crushing Leap away from him, kill another model. It was just this epic. I just move range 5 and kill a model every activation, sometimes twice. It was godly. And then he just got beamed down and just yeeted off the board because he's not super defensive when your entire team is focusing him. But oh my god, the play pattern was hilarious and fun. Jeremy, how do you think it went?
I hate you. I think you're stupid, and I think you should be drug out of town and beaten to death.
Okay, all right.
Says the Malekith player.
I paid 7 points for mine.
I paid 7 points for mine. Okay, Parker, do you have impressions of Ulik?
He did something similar to me. He just walked up and backslapped Red Skull. But we talked about it, and my dice, I completely blanked every time, right? And Ulik blew up every time. And all it took was one good roll on my side or one middling roll on his side, and Ulik would have just been fine. He just looked like a monster because the dice happen. I think he is like, after watching him, he plays like a less strategically interesting Hulk. Like a lot of people, when they pick up Hulk, use him in the way Ulik actually plays, where you move forward on turn one, smack somebody twice, maybe throw them, right? Ulik.
That was actually my exact impression. Is he plays how you think Hulk would play,
right? And then when you master Hulk, you realize there's all these other things he can do because he does have all this other interesting stuff on his kit. Ulik doesn't have all those interesting things on his kit, so he's just that first part of Hulk, which is move every turn to a model, make sure to smack him with 7 dice twice, and he gets to do that very, very efficiently and very, very effectively. The one thing that is difficult about him is that he doesn't mod his dice at all, so they have to go off, and he will be there next to the guy if it doesn't happen, right? Or in this case, he's up there, and yes, he does one-shot your 3-pointer, or 2-shot your 3-pointer, but now he's surrounded by the whole list because he had to be right in the middle of everything to do that. So he's really effective. He's more like a hammer than a surgical tool because he flies across the board and hits somebody, and they're probably put down. But then he's there where he landed.
I want to disagree with that last part. Again, this is 4 games, right? Not 20.
Mm-hmm.
But in that play pattern, again, my 3rd and 4th games, he did not go off. In fact, he completely did 0 damage against Jeremy in the turn 1 play. Mm-hmm. So, but what I think he brings to an actual roster is the surgical tool, right? So if I'm playing Shield and he has Bucky on his back point, guess what? I can murder any one 3-point model anywhere on the effing board. That's what he provides. He has the maneuverability of Juggernaut with more smash.
So really all Ulik is, if you bring the right tools to get him the power he needs, is a model with infinite threat selection.
Right. I could be like, Storm's on the back point. I will get to her this turn. Yeah. And put 6/7/8, depending on what other models you bring to the table, into her. And then throw a building, right? I mean, he's got... Yeah, he can target a model and say, just like a heat-seeking missile, I'm going to go there. I think that is a role he excels at. Now, whether you should be spending 5 threat to do that is another question.
I think it's exactly. Does your list have like a strong core to go and sit on things, but can't go get the model that it really needs to? That he's a really good drop for that. If you're like, I want to spend 5 points. I was actually thinking of him for Guardians, actually, because of his incredibly high mobility, ability to fix the first pounder attack, so he definitely gets to do a second crushing leap. So I feel like he feels really good in Guardians, because Guardians loves to sit on their points, but can't always go all the way out there to get things without sacrificing a lot of action economy. I think you would be really good at that.
I actually played against Guardians with Ulik and Wong in Des Moines.
And did you feel like it was useful, or?
I did not. I don't think things went fairly average, if that makes sense. But I don't think putting support into Ulik is the right idea. I think the right idea is playing effectively down 5 points with a list that works well on its own, and then just having Ulik as a wild card mercenary model that can go do his own thing. And if that list can get him his extra power, that's ideal. But I think taking Wong and making Ulik 7 points is a good way to lose a lot of competitive games.
Right.
And I don't mean competitive as try-hard games. I just mean games where neither player makes obvious mistakes because they're not surprised by a new model on the board. There's several games where both players are feeling out the new model, right? It's like when Juggernaut first came out. Oh my god, Juggernaut's broken. How can a model that hits this hard move so fast? And then we realized, it's because you're supposed to ignore him. And so as you learn to play against him and how to leverage different abilities, it becomes less potent because we understand the interactions better. And I think Ulik is kind of similar to that. Once you understand, it's not about stopping Ulik, it's about just weathering the storm while you actually accomplish good things. I think then Ulik becomes a lot less viable. And so if you've put like a 7 to 9 point support package into Ulik, well, then he's just not worth 9 points. And I think that's the problem.
I will concur with everything you said.
So do you think people, I know everything's better in Steve, but I wonder if Steve's actually an interesting place to put him, because like the Steve package can be like a core around Cap, walking forward. And for the same reason Hulk is strong, Ulik can do with him. Ulik can do something similar, only cheaper, also on turn 1. Go out and make a smack.
So the problem is you don't take Hulk for what Ulik does, which is what sharp players have learned over time.
Mm-hmm.
Hulk is not what he looks like on his card. Hulk
Right.
is actually a control piece.
Mm-hmm.
And where Ulik is actually what Hulk looks like on his card, which is just aggression, right? He's untamed aggression with a decent amount of survivability put behind it. And so that's not really what Steve wants. I do think it's a decent combo. I don't think it's good.
Mm-hmm.
So, first of all, obviously, he turns Ulik on the first turn, which is good. But Steve wants to play generally a brick, and Ulik does not want to play in a brick, right? So, Ulik's a fire and forget missile. And so, if your goal is to distract your opponent for as long as possible, and they don't understand that's what you're trying to do, then I think it can work. But in repetition games, when your opponent knows that you're just trying to distract them from playing the scenario game, I don't think it works, and you just end up playing 5 points down.
Mm-hmm.
Because he can't move anybody, and he can't not be moved by very many people. So, because the biggest problem of downgrading Juggernaut to Ulik, or side grading him, if you will, Juggernaut's a size 4, so that cuts out on like 75% of the things that move him. And then also Juggernaut has the helmet rule, which cuts out another 80%
but
of
you're
those
not taking
abilities.
Ulik because he's really great at standing on secures. You're taking him for
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's all I'm saying is that if you're taking Ulik, it's because you specifically want a missile.
Mm-hmm.
And if your list needs a missile, Ulik is a fucking great one.
Mm-hmm.
As where Juggernaut's a missile that does other things, but does not, it's not a fire and forget missile. Like Juggernaut's more of a scenario interaction thing.
Yep, Ulik is
And so
he's the anti-Gwen, anti-Bucky in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, if they have like a Shuri support model that you need to
or the
go
Shuri.
get, like he can go fucking kill that model.
Yep.
So yeah, that's definitely useful. I just think people are underrating his flaws, and because he has them. It's just
Right.
The
big one is I do not want to pay 7 points for him. I know that I know Aaron, you were trying to play him. You're trying to see
right.
what
Yeah,
happens
you
when
want
push
to
him.
you want to do the thing to see if it's worth it. 100%, it's worth testing.
So anyway, but
So-
regardless of competitive discussion, he was a fun-ass model to play. So,
I think that would be
Yeah.
very true.
Mhm.
so I don't care if people don't like the Rock Troll, put him on the table and play him for 3 games. One of those will be a hoot.
I think Juggernaut is kind of in the same vein as well. He's also very fun to play the first few times.
Sure. Well, until he fails to
once you
kill
get-
Rocket, right? With 2 attacks. Anyway.
Sure. If your argument is I didn't roll 3 hits on 8 dice, then yeah, you're not gonna have fun with Ulik either.
I guess
One
my
of the
point is
things-
a Juggernaut is much more like Hulk. He's a scenario piece.
Mhm.
You can just go to town with Ulik. What separates the two of them is Ulik has a terrain throw, size 4.
Mhm.
So what does Juggernaut do with power? Jack shit. What does Ulik?
Bumps.
He moves, right? He
Mhm.
does not help him kill that 3-threat model. If Ulik
Right.
leaves a 3-threat model on 2 health, like not a problem, boss. Take a bust to the face.
I'm just
so-
stating that I think Juggernaut's fun to play. I'm
Okay.
not saying that they're directly comparable.
Sure.
I mean, to me, they're comparable. I keep thinking about Rhino
They're both
and him.
they're both very
seem to be
hard
very-
and can one-shot people. Yeah.
with the Rhino's ability to get around, and he also throws very large things and all of that. They seem very comparable. I was just going to say the one thing about Ulik that really stands out to me is the 7 health on both sides with damage reduction. That is a lot of goddamn health to chew through. Like it's very
It's a good amount of health.
it's not easy to cut him down.
The crazy thing to me is that he's almost identical to Black Dwarf. Like, you can make strong arguments that Black Dwarf is better than him, with the sole exception he doesn't have the leap. which obviously is a big deal.
The leap
right?
is everything,
being
yeah.
able to put him wherever you want is a big deal. But that just makes me wonder if just playing like Black Dwarf in a list that can make him move faster is just good. Like,
I still
Well-
think Midnight Sun's Black Dwarf is fucking amazing. I still think that is.
might be.
I still think it's amazing.
Or if you like what if you play Black Dwarf in Cabal with Black Bifrost? Like, also good example. And he has Intimidate, like he has Taunt, just like Honey Badger does. So like sending him through the portal early in the turn to stand in front of Malekith is just like great. Now I have to deal with this.
I think him and Blade moving together in Midnight Suns, like you want to kill Blade, right? You feel like you need to kill Blade, but he's going to stop that to a certain extent, and then he himself is just going to get to go wherever he wants. It seems amazing.
Yeah. Anyway, Aaron, is there any other list you want to talk about, or are you just saying Ulick's what you want to talk about?
Yeah, the rest of my games, we don't need to go through them all. Had a fun time playing. That was really the lesson learned from the week. Ulick fun.
All right, Parker, did you build a new list?
Yeah, I tried out Convocation, like I promised, and I really liked their shtick. I liked all of their gadgets and gizmos and mystical whatnots. Brandon told me, he's like, "Oh man, you're gonna get so many triggers," and there were a lot of. The problem was not always triggers. I think I remembered a lot of the reactions. The problem was the timing of everything. Everything needed a certain time to get triggered to actually work. And so I think if I played Convocation, I think I need to play 10 more games before I felt really good about where I could put, like, for example, using the Plains of Poldock, right? When do I use Plains of Poldock and make sure it works really well? Well, obviously you put it on the guy who has a lot of health. Well, if they don't have a guy with a lot of health, when do you use it? Things like that. I'm just not used to playing Cabal or Convocation, so I don't know when to use that card yet.
But that's fair.
There were a couple things that I was looking at, and that frustrated me that I would use it and then roll one shot somebody. I was like, okay, well, maybe that was just really good luck, or maybe I really needed that because I wouldn't have gotten all the rerolls, so it was good.
Well, I mean, you can do the math and determine if it was luck or not, but the key is think of it as insurance.
Yeah.
You go, this is really important. Like, me not, like getting into a car accident is kind of important. Like, I'm going to buy insurance on this. And so, like, I'm going to make sure this happens.
Right. One of the things I did like about the faction is that in general, I felt like I always had power to do all this stuff. That was one of the things I was nervous about.
This gets a lot of power.
Yeah, I was nervous about, like, where am I going to get all the power to use all these things? And I always had all the power to use all the stuff. In my games, I used the new Red Skull. The trick was, of course, on turn 2, you make sure that your Hydra agent dies using his sacrifice ability, gets the rerolls and dies. So your Ironbound books come back. So you always have Ironbound books on turn 2 and turn 3. I decided after the games that I still am not sure if that was just amazing or Red Skull's too expensive for that trick. It's interesting because it's really nice if your little guy is scoring on turn 1 because then you're getting value out of that. Magic and Strange were just tanking huge amounts for 2 turns because Magic has the Sorcerer Supreme of Limbo, which is functionally energy absorption. Strange has the same thing, so they were both just taking way more damage than they should. Because my opponent didn't have energy attacks on Magic, and Strange absorbed the energy attacks anyway. So that was pretty awesome. It's interesting. I'm still not sure if Red Skull Master of Hydra is an automatic in the faction, or you take it when you think you're gonna. But you're always fighting on turn 2 and turn 3. I don't know. What do you guys think? Is Red Skull?
You pretty much always play books on 2 unless they have positioned extremely defensively.
Right. So if that's the case,
I don't think Skull's worth it. I think it's a fun gimmick, and if you really like to abuse books against some lists, it works. But if you aren't doing that, then I don't think it's worth it. And even some of the lists that you think are really good to have against, like Weapon X, well, all their shit has Pierce, which is going to cancel your absorption anyway. So it's rarely ever going to happen. It's just meh. Like, I don't think if books is really good to have, and it's going to curve a lot of the damage. But if you're relying on books to win the game, you are going to lose a lot of games. Because like we know what defense dice do, right? Like they're not good. Like you'll tank. There'll be turns when you just can't die, and then there'll be turns like the number of times my Doctor Strange on a book's turn has died to a single rapid fire attack is insane. Like 5 damage dead. Like okay, whatever. Like it just happens.
Right.
It's like I have 5 dice with energy absorption and rerolls, 0 blocks dies. Like got me. Like it. So you can't trust that to keep you alive.
The one thing that did work out for me is that Red Skull on those 2 turns he was also immune to collisions, and so my opponent had less things they could do while he was 5. It's not he's still Red Skull Master of Hydra, so he also was threatening to one-shot everything he looked at too. It didn't feel terrible.
So the issue I have with Convocation a lot is you don't need another turret. Like the list has plenty of damaging models. I usually like to have mobile models is my alternates. Stuff like Ghost Rider who can get to places that I really need to go get to, because the way I play Convocation is a very aggressive attrition list that plays scenario once it's put you in your place. And so you need to go out and carve out their important models that are going to be able to stop you. And then once you've gotten that attrition lead, turn that into a scenario advantage. And you can't do that with static models. And so like I could put in someone like Red Skull, but if I walk into range to attack people with Red Skull, I am just now forced to activate him, which leaves Doctor Strange vulnerable. Is where if I've got Strange and Ghost Rider, they can be in the back, and my opponent's only option is to move up and engage them at long range while they're in cover, and then I just counter punch them by placing or driving forward. And so you have a lot more tactical flexibility as where Red Skull kind of just walks to the middle of the field and hopes that he doesn't get one-shotted.
Yeah, that was absolutely something that happened in my second game with him. Is he got Ulicked because he just walked to the middle, and I was like, oh, that's him.
Well, I mean, in that example, you were going to get hit wherever you were, pretty much.
Right,
yeah,
it's Ulick, but.
But yeah, making him spend the resources and putting him in weird spots can help. Did you like Convocation?
I did like Convocation. I liked it because I always felt like I had something to do. Like I never felt like I was out of the game ever. Even
you will
when
never
I was
be bored.
Yeah, even when I was way behind in that game, Ulick, days 2 characters on turn 1. Even though I felt like I was going to be so behind so fast, Strange himself was just doing so much work, and he does so much work. I felt like I had something to do, and I could pull it out. It just took some strong play on my part. I liked that a lot. That was Doctor Strange, that model, and like his rules. I've always loved them so much. I've always tried to find an excuse to play him in other factions, and for some reason never have. But
he's kind of an anomaly, because you would think anyone that strong would translate well to other stuff, but like without books, he's really kind of squishy, kind of like Red Skull, and so it'd be easier just to take Red Skull. Without the leadership, he's less defensive and less consistent. I tend to use the rerolls a lot. I know a lot of people don't. The rerolls are better than people think they are.
I use the rerolls. After turn 1.
Yeah. So I think the Circle of the Cosmos is better, but like the Moons of whatever
Moons of Munipur,
is sleepy good, right? Like that ability is better than most leaderships in the game, and I don't think people ever give it a chance. The fact that you get effectively 6 tactics cards is really cool. The flexible leadership. I like Books of Cagliostro because I'll get into some games where I'm like, all right, the only way I win this is if Doctor Strange has like a hero turn and just wins the game straight up. And so you play like Worthy and you play Eye on the Prize, get 2 hammers, get to the back of the board, and then next turn you're like, here we go. And then you just go off on somebody and just like one-shot 2 people. And that's great. So you build up all this power. Now you got like 10 power on Strange. You go into next turn. Or later that turn, you just play Book of Cagliostro, activate him again, and if he's fully stacked on power, you can like move up and circle the Seraphim with 2 books, and it's like a 9-die AoE 2 that heals him, and it completely swing the game if your opponent isn't ready for it.
I had the books also on my list, and I played it in both times. I never actually played it in either time.
Yeah.
And it was. I think that's another one of those like things. Like I was going, okay, when do I use it? When do I use it? And I was looking at it, I was like, both times I wanted to use it, I was going to end up the number of convocation models were too far away, so Strange was just a little too far away. Or the other time was I was like, I'm going to lose priority. I really want to keep priority for the rest of this. And the fact that card doesn't say lose priority, but it could say lose priority.
It generally says lose priority, but it also says win the game, so you have to pick one.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting. There's a lot of decisions that you have to make in Convocation where a lot of factions you don't really get to make decisions. It's really just like you follow the obvious line of play.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm criminals, I need to do this. I'm playing Web Warriors, I need to do this. But then you get to Convocation, you're like, well, I could do this or I could do this, and they're both legitimate options, and so you have to think about it.
I will say this: if Ulrich, of course, lots of things would have changed the game, but if Ulrich had just ruined Magic on turn 1, just kind of spontaneously knocked her down 2, and she would have had her backside, I then would have been able to do a late game, not books, the one that activates, removes the token. I'm just blanking on the name. You just said it.
Book of Cagliostro.
Cagliostro. I would be able to do a late game Cagliostro, and that would have been awesome. And so there were lots of things that they got in my way of using it. And I think if I used it for 3 more games, I think I would use it at least twice, right? I think as I get better at it and better at figuring out how to use it, and it seems really strong. I would have loved to have it at the end of the game. I just didn't get it because Dice got Magic too fast. I like Convocation. I think anybody who has played a lot of after playing a very straightforward faction like A-Force for a while, it is very refreshing to play a faction that feels, what's the best way to put it? I feel like I've been playing football and now I'm playing rugby, where everything is moving constantly and I've always got multiple things I could be doing. Whereas before I was playing football where things kind of stopped and I could assess and I go, this is the best decision because it moves my game plan forward, do that. So I've liked it. It's been fun.
I don't like your analogy, but we'll move past it. Jeremy, what are you doing over there, buddy?
Well, I took Oleg to the face several times. Pretty much, I was messing with criminals. I'm done with that for a minute. I'm gonna bring Malekith back out, but the criminal thing, I got tired of I would be up like 12-4, say, on turn 2 or 3. And I'm like, okay, I'm doing all right, but my guys are looking like they're kind of fading quick. And then all of a sudden, you couldn't
score 4 points?
Dude, I played so many games where I just can't. Like, everybody's scrambling for the last tiny bit, and I'm like, come on, just one guy. And they just kind of like pop.
Tiny Tim over here is like, I just need one more.
I've got Black Cat in the corner holding something like for her dear life, trying to win the game, and I just can't do it. It's weird. It feels really good to start, which that's what it should. Playing criminals, that's what it does, but I just can't seem to finish.
Jeremy lives his life 12 control points at a time.
I guess.
All right, so criminals are out. What are you playing now?
I'm gonna bring back my Malekith list for a tournament coming up, but yeah, that's what I got.
All right. So that's going to take us into our next segment. This is going to be a new segment for some people.
What were you saying, Aaron?
New segment.
I was going to say I have a quick re-attack.
Re-attack.
Right. Re-engagement of the topic. I'll give a quick recap of just one game because I think there's something really key that I took out of it that might be interesting. This was Malekith versus Malekith on Meteors and Montesi. Magneto versus Magneto. It was a Brotherhood. I ended up dropping Magneto, Apex, Juggernaut, and Mystique into Magneto, Juggernaut, Pyro, Bill. Who has the better team?
Oh, I wasn't listening. You'll have to say them again. Sorry.
Okay. Mine was Magneto, Jugs, Mystique, Apex. Theirs was Magneto, Jugs, Pyro, Bill. They have priority.
Well, their list because they have priority.
Yeah. So
and Bill shocks everybody, right?
So personally, I'm not a Mystique fan. So I would actually say his list.
I fully agree. My list was list locked into that requirement. So anyway, bottom line, I'm playing.
Hold on. I have a question.
Yeah.
Was he playing dual affiliation or is he solo Brotherhood?
It was solo Brotherhood.
So you were always going to have the disadvantage in that exact matchup.
Yes.
Because he has more options than you do.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Due to my list construction, locked into a disadvantageous matchup in this particular instance. I ended up winning the game. Spoiler alert. But it's how I did it that I think is the takeaway. Real quick, just into Bill, I ended up going into him with Juggernaut in the first turn and just doing 1 damage with a hit. I then Asteroid M'd Mags up because I figure I've got to do something. Like, I lose this game. He already has the 2 Montesi books, and he's winning 2 points. I roll 6 dice with full rerolls and do 1. Do it again. Do another 1. Throw a size 3. Do 1.
You're speaking my fucking language here, like, dude.
Throw a size 2 and do 1. So after
you know how many
Jugs,
times I rolled 3 fucking skulls on reverse polarity just in the LVO Invitational at least 8 times.
Yeah. No, he blocked like 5 every time. It was insane. Even advanced out of cover, and I still couldn't kill him. So I do 1 damage on 4 attacks plus the Jugs bump and leave him on 1. Like, whatever, this game's over. He ends up flubbing his rolls turn 2. The point I want to make though is the entire game, I refused, regardless of how attractive it looked, I refused to attack any person who had not already activated.
Yeah.
Right?
That seems good.
Because I lose this game unless I get priority. Period. It took until turn 3, and then I finally got priority because he dazed, I forget, Juggernaut, I think. And at that point, the game just completely switched.
Yeah.
So, and so you knew it off the bat. Like, whoever has priority in this game wins. So, he never should have attacked a model that didn't have priority, right?
Agreed. Well, at some point, if he's winning attrition, it's going to happen because you're going to run out of models.
Or just don't attack. He has the scenario lead. He has the extract advantage and the secure advantage. The only way he loses that game is if he ever gives me prio. And that is entirely up to him.
Hold on. Did Bill have an extract?
Yes. So turn 2, I pop Bill.
At some point, you're going to get Bill, right?
Sure.
And so he's going to lose the scenario advantage at that point. So I think fighting you makes sense. Now, at the point he gave you priority, I'm assuming he didn't have to. He could have attacked somebody else. And so dazing Jugs to give up priority is probably the bad call. I would agree with that. Especially in a close matchup that's a fairly tall list that has a lot of advantages for going first. Magneto is one of the best priority models in the game. Being able to activate magnetic refraction before your opponent. There's a lot of advantages going first in that specific matchup. Yeah. Getting to throw the best pieces of terrain before your opponent can. Like, there's a lot of good reasons to go first. So losing priority in that matchup is crucial.
So I don't want to harp on the specific matchup, just the key of... so we all know priority is important. But sometimes, even though we know it's important, I think we get blinded by need to pop that extract or need to kill that model on 1 health. And we're like, maybe it's worth it. Newsflash, you should just think about it again. Like, sometimes priority is the most important consideration you have on your turn when you think about what needs to happen next turn. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, another thing that goes along with that is it's one of those things like you can choose which model your opponents can attack. If you activate a model and put a token on them, that gives your opponent like clearance to go at them and keep or change priority in some way, right? That was something in the tournament I did a lot. I was like, oh man, if he activates that character first, it's gonna be so awesome. And then when he did, I was like, oh, this is great. I'm gonna be able to do everything I want in this whole turn, because he activated that character first. If he just activated him any other time, I wouldn't have been able to attack him because it would have changed priority in this way. It's really weird. Now you have to have perfect knowledge of how well your opponent is playing to know that. But if your opponent is, or if you know your opponent is watching for priority and activation, then you can game that a little bit by activating things that they can't go after easily or they don't want to. Interesting.
Cool. All right. So moving into our next segment. This segment is called "Do I Have Donkey Brains?" So
yes,
we're going to go in to read my list that I built for no specific region, However, in the car ride up, Aaron, did I not say I think it's time to take the 2 best characters in the game and put them together?
You did, yes.
Okay. Then I went a step further, and I was like, well, what if we took, like, the 2 best lists and put them together? And then
I pointed out
that
Toad and Mystique are already in the same list, so...
Yeah, exactly. So what I have done is I took 2 things, and I super glued them together, and then I stapled something else to it, and then I duct taped 2 more things to that. And so now I have this like Chimera Abomination thing that I don't know what to do with, and I don't know if it's I think it's like something built by a committee and it's just functionally bad, but I'm curious. So Parker, you'll remember our friend Will Thompson from LVO.
Sorry,
what you don't remember Will?
One more time.
Will Thompson from LVO.
Oh yes, okay, yeah, go.
Okay. So he played Thanos in Wakanda.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of his like go-to lists. He's very good at. He's very practiced at it.
Yeah.
So I was looking at my Cabal list that Jeremy copied, and I was thinking to myself,
"You're so rude. I'm not letting that go."
So I'm sitting here thinking to myself, why does Jeremy copy me? Is it because he just wants to achieve success, or does he want to emulate me because of how awesome I am? So I look at it and I go, well, I've already got Okoye, Shuri, and Killmonger because I'm playing Cabal. And so Shuri is a good drop-in that I came up with on my own, and nobody else has ever tried with Malak.
I fucking hate you.
All right, so anyway, actual topic. So I've already got 3 Wakandans, and so I was like, well, why don't I just put in the 4th Wakandan? I've got Wakanda Splash, and I could do like Malekith Wakanda, and it works great. You can also do MODOK Wakanda. There's a lot of things you can do. Hulk works great in Wakanda. We got all these options. So I put that in, and then I'm thinking to myself, I flash back to my game with Will and your game with Will, and we talked with him, and I've kind of theorized, like, is Thanos better in Guardians, or is he better in Wakanda? Is he better wherever? So I put in Thanos then, and so I've got the Wakanda Thanos brick, and then I've got Thanos in Cabal, and then I've got Malekith in Wakanda, and I've got, like, all kinds of weird stuff. So currently the 10 characters are Thanos, with Mind and Soul currently, because of restriction options. Malekith, Hulk, MODOK, which is kind of my go-to Cabal list. Black Panther, Killmonger, Mystique, Shuri, Okoye, and Bob. So I've got 2 twos. So, do I have donkey brains, or is there something here?
I already answered that.
I know, but so the question here is because I really want to have patch up and brace, because I've got a lot of deep health pool models that patch up's really strong for, specifically like Thanos and stuff. Brace I think is a little less important, but it's still very, very good and very, very important. So then next up I've got Vibranium Shielding, Wakanda Forever, and Usurp the Throne. Usurp the Throne obviously works in both because I can play Cabal, Killmonger, and Usurp with Wakanda. They both work fine. Deception, Smash, the Black Bifrost, Dark Reign, and Midnight. I like this. I think it's got a lot of legs. The interesting thing is that it's so transformative because you can play just straight Wakanda, you can play Thanos Wakanda, and then you can do Cabal. So it can come at you in so many different ways. I don't know how you build a squad to fight it. I think at worst case scenario, we're in like a list chicken kind of like coin flip scenario. And so you're going to try and assume what I'm going to play based off the scenarios. And so going to my crises, my secures are Mayor Fisk, Demons, and Gamma. And then my extracts are Alien Ship, Researcher, Montesi. So I've got narrow missions because I like to play the Cabal side. But obviously most people aren't running these missions. I think the secures are fairly common, but I think the reds are very uncommon. I think people are building wide reds for that exact reason. They don't want to play against Malekith. And so, or for example, the X-Men super popular right now. X-Men are definitely not running those blues. And so if I get on any of those missions, I can have multiple different options. I can try and still do Cabal. I can go Wakanda. I can take Thanos. I can do all kinds of stuff. So, is this list way too scatterbrained? Or is it just the right amount of crazy?
Honestly, I'll go option B. I without 100% certainty, but until proven wrong, I think the list has legs.
What would you think if you got paired against it? Would you just be like, I have no fucking idea what to do?
Basically, I would have to do a hard look at the scenario And
so obviously
yeah.
we're going to pick the missions that you think are best for you. And then we'll pick we'll get to the point selection and everything. And you'll basically just look at my list and try and build every possible roster you can think of. And be like, all right, these are the things you can play, which is literally everything.
I tend to be a worst case scenario type player. So if you have a Hulk or a Malekith in your roster, I'm bringing whatever I brought to defeat that.
Okay.
I'm not going to try, what's the chance that he does or doesn't bring that?
Right.
So just by having that in your roster, people are going to go, fuck, he might bring this. I have to bring Gene because he might bring Thanos. Like as an example. And that's baller for you. And then you pop out like, 6 wide Wakanda. You're like, okay.
Yeah.
A better player might be able to more easily discern what you are going to play and thus have the correct drop into you.
So I think knowing the person and their tendencies would obviously help a lot. But in a tournament setting, I think this would be very hard to roster build against.
And if you legit take, 20 games with this roster, 30, you'll be able to play the different rosters with enough reps to break yourself of the I want to play Cabal.
Sure.
Right? And so then you'll be comfortable dropping all 3 of them, at which case it becomes much more scary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the problem, I think, is most of the time you're like, but I want to play this guy, I want to play that guy. In Marvel Crisis Protocol, you also like the characters, I think. So
Sure.
most of the time, yeah. So when you look at somebody's list, for example, like you said, like when you see the Hulk or when you see Mal, most of the time I go, oh, he has Mal in his list. He's playing Mal. And the reason why is he must like Malekith. He's not doing this for any other reason. He must want to play Malekith. And so when I see Magneto, I don't go, oh, he's playing Magneto in Cabal. I go, no, he's playing Magneto. I don't care if he plays Brotherhood or Cabal, whatever. He's going to play Magneto because he likes Magneto. That's why he put Magneto in his list.
Just heads up, we're going to come back to that point next week. I already have it on the docket. But we'll talk about that more.
Okay.
Jeremy, what do you think? You're kind of being quiet over there.
Well, it's interesting enough for those that don't know. We had to submit lists, and
personally, I was upset because Brian made the list public, and you just copied my list.
You motherfucker, that's not true. So
I do want to say, in all seriousness, though, I was shocked when I saw your list, and we came up with damn near the same fucking.
Damn near the same. So
we were off by, I counted, it was 2 characters, 4 Tactics cards, and 1 mission. That was the difference that we came up with in a vacuum, not intending to. Neither of us knew what
we hadn't talked. No,
we had not talked at all. Neither of us knew what the other one was building. Neither of us knew even what affiliation we were going to do. It was crazy.
So my thought on the whole thing is, I'm not sure, being that I played this in Vegas, like, because I like Thanos too, and that was another drop that I was like, okay, maybe I need to do that. Like, I'm not sure, like, when you drop that, like, what, I don't know. Like,
So,
what are your thoughts on that? Why do you take
my
Thanos?
most excited list to play is Malekith, Thanos, Bob at 17. I really want to try that because I don't know how you kill Malekith with Thanos on the board.
I think you run into what me and all the other Malekith players were kind of chuckling about because we got lined up together. Was we live and die by the fucking dice. Like, there's so many games that are like that. And I think that if you drop the big guys down, one thing I learned is the one with the bodyguard is going to win that game. Like, being able to have the right sacrifice or a bodyguard on the table and redirect anything gets redirected, you're fucked. Because you have to just surgically remove things as, they have to happen. But with that said, like, I love Malekith, Hulk, and whatever else. That's an amazing team. Like, you can just take your opponent's army apart. It's so good.
That's what I've been doing. I was trying to play that Avengers list that I built, and I think it's good. I think it has legs, but it's not my play style. So it's like fighting against my natural tendencies, and so I'm running into some clunky spots. But when I switch back to Malekith, I'm just going go tall Malekith. It's been very intuitive, very quick, and all of a sudden I'm having a lot more success.
What is against your playstyle? What part is against your playstyle?
go wide scenario play. Like, I understand it, but it's not my, like, I keep finding myself going, all right, now I move here and kill this guy. And I'm like, wait, when am I trying to do that? Like, I get off track because, like, I look at the board. I'm a very instinctual player. And so I don't make, I don't even make a plan at the start of the turn. I just look at the board and go, this needs to happen first. It's just like, it's what shows up to me is what I do. And so I just feel my way through the turn. And it takes a lot of reps with some affiliations for me to get to the point where I can do that and have success. Like, Convocation probably took 20 games before I was like, I just had the natural feeling of what needed to happen because they're kind of weird. And Avengers, I was there originally because that's where we started playing. That was the only real option. And then moving back, it's very different now. And so I'll find myself caring so much more about how attrition is going instead of like I'll be afraid to put a model on a point because I don't want to lose it, but it's like that's the whole point is we're fighting for points, and I'm just like I need to break myself of that habit of thinking my models are valuable. They're really not. It's just been so long since I played like go wide scenario control. Anyway, all right, so we got one vote for not Donkey Brains. Parker, do you have a vote?
I don't think you actually, in this game anyway, I don't think you play against your opponent's list that much. I think you play against the scenario more often. And so when you have any list that gives you flexibility on any combination of scenarios, when that's what you get, that's, I think, the strength. And since the way you described it was, when I see this combination of scenarios, I do this. When I see this combination, I can see this. When I do this combination, I see this. And they're all good options every time. I go, that's a good list. I don't even care what your opponent does so much. And we know that we just got done telling that Malekith gets really boned by having a single bodyguard in there. So we know there is counterplay with models and there's things you don't want to see. But the fact that you're not talking about your opponent's models, you're talking about what the scenario can and can't do and what your list can do around the scenario, then I go, yes, that must be good, because you almost always play against the scenario, not your opponent, at least until dice start rolling, and then you're playing against them.
Yeah. So I have a question. Do you think that you view it that way because most lists are fairly predictable, or because you think what your opponent is playing is actually not that consequential to the game?
I think it's because what my opponent is playing.
Because obviously, if like they're running like Thanos Hulk, like you need to know that going in. It's just usually, I think, pretty predictable because most people build a very obvious list, as where very few times, like sometimes you'll see dual affiliation where you're like, oh, he's running like X-Men and Brotherhood. So like I know that now. And so you have to think about it a little bit. But do you ever look at lists and go, oh, he could do any of these three things? And they're all noticeably different.
Yeah. And when I see that, I go, what I usually say is, okay, then I can't predict it.
Then you just ignore them and do your thing.
Right. I can't predict it in the next 25 seconds that I have to decide, right? Like you don't have a lot of time to do that on a tournament clock, the round's getting started. So if we're playing like a friendly game, we might stop and talk about it and hee-haw about the different back and forths before we get to play and stuff like that, because you're trying to learn. But if you're playing a tournament game, I don't have enough time. So really I am looking at my opponent's board, and I'm just trying to assess right then, are they for sure playing this keystone model? For example, if I know they're going to put their MODOK down, or if I have a reasonable suspicion they're putting MODOK down, well, then I'm going to play this tactics card. But that's actually what changes my list. I don't change any of my models because I'm picking my models for the scenario. But I'm going to put Psychic Shielding Device in my list because it's going to work on MODOK. So if I see their Malekith, I go, okay, I'm going to turn out 2 points for Okoye instead of Black Widow because a Bodyguard's going to mess with Malekith. And if he's not playing Malekith, Okoye is similar to Black Widow enough that it works. But I'm purposely playing. I built my roster to not lose to Malekith because I didn't want to lose to Malekith.
Okay, I got you. Alrighty. So you never answered my question. Is it yes or no?
If they have 3 or more viable options, not like bullshit options like Dormammu's in there too. But
the question is, do I have Donkey Brains?
Oh, do you have Donkey Brains? No, you don't have Donkey Brains because I think your description is correct. and I think you're on the right track.
Jeremy, final vote.
Maybe.
Well,
But-
I got him in kind of a checkmate right now, because if he says yes, then he also has Donkey Brains.
know.
Because he built the same list.
I know. Yeah. I don't think so. I think it's fine.
All right.
It's going to be fun, and honestly, that's the best part of this game is that shit can be fun, and you can actually lose a game
Yeah.
and have fun. And I have a hell of a lot more fun throwing a shitload of dice at people than I do like just survive one more turn with all my characters, please God, and then they all get wiped out. That's not fun for me.
All right. So with that, let the record show that by unanimous vote by the committee, I do not have Donkey Brains.
Your certificate's in the mail.
Yep. All right, moving on. Our main topic today is going to be casual versus competitive, excuse me. And the way we're going this is we had a lot of talk at LVO, and because there was a lot of people in just looking to play scrambles and pickup games, and they said, oh, well, we're just looking to play casual, but like in a very like inviting way. And so we took a step back and we're like, well, what does that really mean? Because we do a lot of casual play at the store. I personally do a lot of teaching games. And then, we also play each other, and when we play each other, I think we're kind of playing competitively, but are we really? Like so basically, where's the line? What different ways do you approach the game for competitive versus casual? So starting this off, we got a couple different categories, and we'll have some write-in categories at the end if you find something we didn't talk about. First of all, list building. Does anyone, do you build lists differently for tournaments and game night stuff, or do you not?
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. Why don't you explain a way that you would approach it differently?
On game night, casual night, whatever we want to call it, a lot of times I will add in a couple cards I've never played before. It'll be a model or two I've never played before. So that in that way, I do build my list a bit differently. I will take chances with my models, maybe put them out there and just see if they live.
We're not there yet. We're just talking about list construction.
There you go. That's what I'm saying.
All right. Aaron?
Yes. If I'm going to bring a casual, engage in a casual game at game night, it will be with non-meta models.
Okay.
I'm not going to bring Malekith, Thanos, Mystique, or like Turn 1 Jank. I'm going to build a play fair list with off-meta models.
Yeah. Okay. So it's less about the composition and more just about the absence of what is considered the top tier stuff.
For me, yes.
Okay. Parker?
I actually just when I make lists, I make lists, and so no.
Oh, we know Mr. Noob Stomper.
When I go into and the reason I've said it before, it's because when I get to play 2 games a week, and I also love to play competitive tournaments, I hate the idea that I'll never get to play the list I wanted to play until tournament day. So I play the list that I want to play every night, and if it has competitive models in it and I'm doing a competitive strategy in it, that's what I'm doing that night because I get to play 2 games maybe a week. If I got to play 5 games a week, I would totally change my tune and I would be playing other stuff.
So what you're saying is the way that you build a casual roster is that you build a competitive one and then look for someone who's looking for a casual game.
I did not say that. You said what do I bring? What do I bring to casual game night?
So that's fine. And so you don't build casual lists is basically what you're saying.
Right. I don't.
Or that your tournament lists are casual lists, whichever you prefer to say.
Yeah, exactly.
But you don't go about constructing a roster any differently.
Right. I don't build a list specifically for casual games. Yeah.
So for me, I don't generally build what I would call casual lists. Though if I'm doing a learner game, obviously we're doing effectively battle box kind of stuff, like we're just breaking up the core set kind of things. If I ever do build a casual roster, I will effectively play affiliated only. And so I'll just I'm playing Avengers. I'll just grab all the Avengers stuff that I like to play with and just put it on the table. And then I'll be all Avengers cards and character only stuff. And just get very thematic things going on. And that way it's even if I'm not going to get the mental, because I get very analytical in games and I don't play to win. I play to find the answer to the puzzle. And that generally is, you do that to win, and so like that's really the end goal. But it's hard to turn that off. Like when I'm looking at the board, like I said, I'm a very intuitive player. It's like I see lines of play, they just kind of appear to me, and I'm like, I need to do this. And it's not like I need to do this to win the game. I just go, I need to do this because it's the most efficient move.
Are we talking about gaming? Are we talking about the games now? Or are we just
not really? Well, so I'm just explaining like the difference between my list building options. So like I will build the roster in a fairly similar way, unless I know someone is very new. I will do like an affiliate only kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But when I go to play, kind of like Parker, generally I'm going to play with the list I have already built because it's available. Like I've already got my models out; they're on a tray. All my cards are together. Like it's very painstaking to be like, hey, you want to play games? Like yeah, and then you find out the person's fairly new, and you're like, well, do I want to go build a new list while they're waiting on me? Like it's kind of a problem. And so I will say the most common thing I do generally do when I'm building rosters for game night stuff is I won't play what I consider to be egregiously broken models like Voodoo, for example. I will just not play Voodoo in regular games unless he's like required for affiliation or something weird. So like when I was building my Avengers list with Lexa, I just didn't put Voodoo in because he's broken as fuck. Even though he's the best model option available, especially at that point value. It's just like, I don't want to play Voodoo because it's not fun. So anyway, moving on. Squad building. And so selecting your models at the table. Parker, and we know you don't change your roster, but do you build your squad differently against new players? Like, do you not take like the broken tactics? Like, I'm not going to play field dressing against this guy because he's new, or I'm not going to like play follow me because he's new, or I'm not going to what's a good character example? I'm not going to play Doctor Strange and like Ghost Rider together, or Doctor Strange and Red Skull together because my opponent is a new or casual player.
What I do is actually kind of like what Jeremy was talking about. I think you're saying like playing new stuff. Generally, what I found is I will gravitate towards the same kind of half of my roster, usually for most rosters that I have, and I'll play the same core, like 3 or 4, the ones I can count on every time. But I have all these other models that I never put down because I think they're anti-synergistic, or they were kind of put in there as lone wolves, and I don't know what they do, or I haven't just haven't played them enough. I don't know their cards backwards and forwards. And so when I play a game that I know is more casual or against a newer player, I will say I'm learning with you, because I'm going to play a model I've never played before. So at least we're learning this together, and we're going to find out what this thing does. So another thing I will do, I used to do it a lot for X-Wing. I haven't done it as much for this because there's so many models in the game I haven't put down. But in X-Wing, when I had seen the length and breadth of things, I would always ask my opponent, like, what is there a model you haven't got to see yet, or you haven't got to play against yet? Because they're limited number of games, they never seen something, and they're like, oh, I really want to see, back then it was like a Y-wing or a K-wing or something like that. It was like, I never saw one of those because all my friends always play Imperials. Could you play this? And I was like, yeah, let's play all the models that you've never seen before, and you can see what they do. So I've asked that. I haven't done that as much for this game because I'm usually I have lots of models I haven't seen before, so I want to try those. But I have a feeling one day I'll be there, and I'll ask my opponent if they would like to see something.
Aaron, do you build your squad any differently? Are you still building maximum efficiency, or what are you doing?
I'm with Parker in that I will ask my opponent if they'd like to see something or not say something, and I'll even do that before we even drop lists if I have multiple lists available. Absent that, though, I think there's a distinction between new and casual.
That's true.
New, I will absolutely like take it easy on, and we'll talk about this later, but make suboptimal plays. For casual, my level of casualness usually stops at the list construction because I'm already playing something off meta. Like I'm bringing Sentinels. Like I'm not gonna bring Sentinels and like 4 2s, right? Just so I can practice being bad. Like no, I've already put myself on an 8-ball. Now I'm gonna have fun playing these models that aren't as meta and or good objectively, but I still want the puzzle of how to figure out to play these models effectively.
Okay, Jeremy.
I like to try things that I kind of saw other people do. Like I'd be like, Logan is really cool for X and Y reasons. I'm like, maybe I'll put Logan in this game, even though I trust Domino more. I'm like, I will make my list mash in Logan just so I can try him. Those are the kind of things I do. I'm like, I want to see what this thing can do in this without. Maybe I don't look at the missions as much, and I look more at like what kind of cool thing do I want to see that maybe I haven't seen. Just try new things.
Okay. All right. Next up, table etiquette. Do you functionally play the game any differently when you're playing a quote unquote casual game versus a competitive game? Like, do you allow takebacks more often? Do you play without a chess clock, with a chess clock? Do you, mark tokens differently? Do you measure things differently? Do you, anything like that? Anything like player versus player kind of stuff, not like specific game decisions. Like, for example, would you warn people that your models have stealth in advance? Is that a difference between casual and competitive for you? Do you always do that regardless?
It's funny. It's funny you mentioned that. That was actually something that showed up many times in in the tournament. Actually, there were a couple times where I was talking out loud about something, and my opponent said, "Oh, did you remember this character had stealth?" I did, but I thought that was really cool that everybody I talked to, if they thought I was about to get a gotcha for stealth, they were letting me know before I even touched a model that was possible. I thought that was really interesting.
For that interaction specifically, I think it's a little more friendly because you're actually just not allowed to attack them. And so, unlike other games where it's like, oh, attacks outside this range miss automatically. And you're like, oh, so like I've declared the attack, so my attack is gone. Well, in this, it's like, well, you get the action back. So it's kind of like there isn't as much of a gotcha. Obviously, you could be convinced to move into a bad location to attempt to make the attack. And then you'd like, okay, well, I guess I move back and waste my whole activation. Like, it's really annoying. Right. And so, yeah, I think that fosters a more friendly nature of the ability anyway. Right. But yeah, it is. I do like to see that the community is very open information in that regard.
Right. I think one thing that I will do at a table when I know somebody is brand new is I'm all about learning. I'm all about like maximum learning for me and for them. I want to learn a lot. I would love for them to learn a lot. I don't know if that's what they're into, but I would love for them to. And so one of the things I want them to get out of the game is as much learning as possible. So if takesy backsies is the way that they learn, great. But if that's not a learning priority for them, one of the things that I did not know I needed that priority of no takey backsies until I started playing Jeremy. Actually, I've told this story before about the very first person who ever told me no takes backs on a friendly game was when I was playing Jeremy in War Machine. And he made it clear at the very beginning of the game. And I remember being taken aback, but at the same time going like, yes, I needed this because I've been doing takebacks for so long. I need to know what it's like to not play with takebacks. And so that was something I needed to learn. So I think having a discussion, or even a really brief one, about what your opponent is excited to learn about. And if they're excited to learn how to use all their rules and not miss triggers, then takebacks are probably something you should allow to make sure you actually get to see what your list does. Because if you don't do takebacks, there's an argument to be made that you never actually got to see what your list does. You got to see what you being a new player on your list does, which is actually not a full Megillah. So, but however, if that's what you want, if you want to I want to know what it's like for me to pilot this list, then the only way to do that probably is without takebacks. So I think as long as and it could be a really short conversation about that. It's usually one or two questions and then it's over. But knowing what you're interested to learn about at the end of the game, I think it's a really important thing to do, I think.
Yeah, I think that's part of this whole thing we're having a discussion about is like when you say like, hey, you want to pick up games, like discussing like the concept of like what we're both looking for is, I think, even as brief as a conversation is, hey, like how casual are you looking for? Like what do you want out of this? Is like, do you want a like on the rails like walkthrough of the game, or do you want like, hey, we're just both gonna screw around and try and bash each other? Like, do you want to just play without a clock? Like, what do you mean by casual? I think is what we're looking to get out of this conversation. So like our different viewpoints, I think, might show some light on this.
One thing about a casual different than maybe a tournament or whatever for me is just the idea of when someone kind of pauses for a minute and gets that expression, or like they kind of lock up a little bit, I always like to be like, what are you trying to get done? Like, let's talk about it together, because I'll help you get it done, right? And definitely you don't do that during some sort of like a tournament game.
Yeah. There's like when there's a kind of a puzzle on the board, it's like, well, I've got martial artists and stealth, but also this model has taunt. And so you're like, I don't know where I need to be to not hit all of these abilities. You're like, oh, okay, well, you need to be out of 2 of this, within 3 of here, and not within 2 of this one. Yep. And they go, oh, okay. And then like we can find that spot. But if you're just like, I have these abilities, here's my cards, figure it out, and you just step away from the table, and they're like, I need help. Like, this is not what I wanted. And so, yeah, I think that's a good example.
The idea of, you know, I like when people are walking through their game out loud, especially when they're kind of struggling a little bit, and you know, you're having communication, and they're like, I can't go here because of this, and you're like, hold on, I don't actually have power for that. Just do it. You know, like, I know what you're trying to do. Just go for it. And I know a lot of us do that, because we'll kind of
There's a lot of times people are like, God, I can't attack any of your models because Lethal Protector. You look down, Venom's got 0 power. You're like, yeah, Lethal Protector. Yeah, don't attack my models. Like, and then like sometimes you're like, wow, I did fuck that up. Like, I definitely shouldn't have spent that power. Yeah, so that's another good one. I agree with you, though. Like, if your opponent's kind of staring at the board and they look kind of confused, you're like, what are you trying to do? Like, let me like, can I help? Like, what's your goal here? Like, you're like, well, I want to get this guy off the point, but I don't want to activate this model. It's like, okay, well, you know, like, you kind of got like these 2 or 3 options, really. Or it's like, oh, just so you know, this model's actually size 4, even though they're not very big. So you're not gonna be able to throw them with your size 3 guy anyway. And you're like, oh, okay. So like, we can get to the correct decision together because it's an open information game.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. So it's like, you should know what all of my cards do at all times. There should be no surprises.
When a misunderstanding is the thing that's keeping them from completing their thought, but it's impossible sometimes to have that conversation unless there is communication. They could just feel really frustrated.
Yeah.
And not
or they're like staring at the boards like, I'm trying to figure out how to get both these models dead, and they're like kind of walking through and like, well, I can tell that you think you're going to throw them into each other and kill them because that's the only way that can be accomplished, by a brace or Indomitable. So I'm like, just so you know, I got this over here, like, so that plan's probably not going to work. And they're like, oh yeah, good point. And then we can move past it together. There's no point wasting the time. Aaron, it sounded like earlier you don't play the game much differently on casual versus competitive, because you already play the game very casually, right?
So I was going to make that point.
You play the game socially casually.
You can correct me if I'm wrong, because you guys have played against me, but I like to think that absent like post-roll takesies backsies, I play, whether it's a LVO tournament game or Thursday night game night, very casually in terms of you need to you moved here because you thought I had stealth, or you forgot I had stealth. Why don't you take your move action back and move to within 2 now, or within 3?
Yeah.
Like, I think for the vast majority of my games, I want to beat someone at their best. That's what I get out of the game. So you making mistakes detracts from my enjoyment, if that makes sense. So I'm more than willing to let you make a wrong decision, as long as that decision is based off of accurate information.
You had the information. You decided to do something bad. Yeah.
Right. I even
or
almost
less optimal.
I almost really helped out 2 games at LVO that I won by a point each. And one of them, Chewy, I even told him, you need to one-shot Kingpin. And he didn't. He thought that meant to tie, but he forgot that one of my characters was still healthy. So I ended up winning. I was like, no, I told you. Like, you were going all in on this. And then the other one, Doug went to attack me, and I was like, whoa, that's like super ballsy. Like, you're going for the win right now. When he should have moved to tie, he just forgot that he had a day's character he thought he could activate later.
Yeah.
So I'm very social and interactive. Again, happy for you to make whatever decision you want, but I think I'm pretty casual no matter what. But again, you guys can correct me because you play against me.
I also personally think I play the game pretty standard across the board in tournament and casual games. I'd probably allow more takebacks in a casual game, but like, my line for takebacks is kind of the same. If you made a decision with bad information, if we can rewind it, we will. Like, once you've rolled dice, like, it's a little fuzzy, but if you're like, oh, well, I meant to be on the point, it's like, we'll move him on the point. Like obviously, like, you're like, oh, it's like, I meant to contest this when I moved earlier. It's like, well, yeah, I assumed that when you moved there, because you, like, had the range one, and the model got bumped or something. Obviously, you're on the point. Like, we're not looking to, like, measure all the range ones at the end of the turn to find out who messed up their movements. So yeah, I think all that's pretty standard with our group, but that also might just be because we play each other a lot and we kind of pick up habits together. But yeah, I think there's a big difference between socially casual and socially competitive as well, because I've definitely played people that take the game to a very high level of serious, which I'm not looking for. Like, I'm not looking to, you know, play like chess or like and have people spectating and like nobody talks and like everything is like guard as much information as you can. It's like, that's not what I'm here for. A lot of high level card games are that way, and it's very not fun. Yeah, so socially casual, and then, you know, like play wise being casual as well is a little bit different. So moving on to the final one, we've got strategy differences. So I'm gonna just start with mine on this one. And when I'm playing a casual game with somebody that's not looking for like a hard competitive, like I want to challenge kind of situation, they just want to have a fun game, I try to play at 110% of their level. Whatever they're putting in, that's what I put in. I put in 10% above that. So the game, I try to make the game feel within reach, even if they're not actively trying to win. So for an example, when we used to play War Machine, I would always try and play to the point, like I would give them stuff. I would like you can charge me here. Like I'm willing to accept this loss because you gave me a free charge on the other side. And so I'd kind of do that back and forth until we would come to, on the final turn, you have a shot to win it if you can do all the things right and you can make all the rolls you need to make. Like, it should feel within reach. And in MCP, I try and do that too. Like, if my opponent is moving off of points to fight, I will move off of points to fight, and I'll do whatever like their strategy is. I'll try and make it as close as I can, but I'm not gonna throw a game unless like because I don't see what the point in that is. If all you care about is the W at the end of the game, then you're not playing a casual game. And so I want the game to feel competitive, like not competitive as in like we're both trying as hard as we can, but like there should be parity, right? It's like one side blowing out the other side is not necessarily fun. And so I want to create the what should be close with my actions. And so that's generally how I try and play casual games. Did any of that make sense?
I feel like you're describing casual and then casual new person game.
Well, I'm not talking about a new person game there. Like a learning game is different. Like, I'm basically trying to give them instruction on what they should be doing. I'm trying to like set up not like reverse traps. Like, I'm trying to set up situations where my opponent's abilities can trigger. Like, I'm going to try and move into a spot where you can trigger assassin so that you can use the ability on your card. As where in just my regular casual games, like, for example, Jason and I played War Machine like twice a week for like 3 years. Yeah. And he, I think during that time period, never beat me. But all of our games were like within a point. So like I'm putting like everything down to where like the win is there. He's just got to get it. And as opposed to just like trying to steamroll him, which doesn't accomplish anything.
No.
It's like if I just table him every time we play, Jason's not going to come back. But if I play close games, he'll feel like he's getting better or learning or whatever it happens to be. Wherever he's looking at the game, like if he gets to kill a bunch of my models and do stuff, like that's the goal. But so like neither of us have fun if I just, you know, play as hard as I can, never give him an inch, and just keep him at arm's length the whole game. Like that's not fun. But if we're just both of you are going smashy, it's like I'm gonna fire in a missile and like blow up your thing, then you get to counterattack me and like back and forth. Like that's more fun. So that's what I attempt to do in a game where my opponent is not trying to compete. Like they're not trying to make the best decisions. They're not trying to think tank every you know line of play. They're just trying to, you know, I'm here to, you know, play my models and have a good time. And that's just, you know, I'm going to have as much fun as I can while I do it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
For me, I think it all comes down to like a matter of time, because against a newer player or somebody who's inexperienced or somebody who's seeking only casual and not very competitive in this game, it really just translates into scenario play. And slowing down the game so that it goes to turn 5 or turn 6, because that's the one thing that the more competent player can do, is they can just shorten the game for your opponent. They can, instead of attacking, they'll just throw, move onto the point. Look, I'll score 4, you'll score none, and then all of a sudden it's over so fast, and your opponent goes, okay,
Right.
I guess I never had my car.
Yeah, and the whole time they're like, I didn't make any decisions.
Right.
Like nothing I did mattered.
Right. So the whenever I'm playing somebody that I know is trying to learn and trying to, you just have a, trying to, kind of what you're describing, just trying to roll dice and play Marvel characters, I'm going to make, I'm not going to make plays that this is funny. For some reason, I draw a line at making bad attrition plays. Like, I will still try to make my models live longer and kill his models faster, but I purposely will do anti-scenario plays. The play that is the opposite of what I should do to win the game based on scenario. Because that's the way to shorten the game, is to win it on scenario. Just the fact that there are front and backs of cards and dice and health, it means that the game will go to turn 5 or 6 if all we do is try to punch each other. Usually. So, while I will not let you kill my models for free, I also will not just take 3 victory points and give you 0, because I know that ends the game and you never got a chance to do anything or affect the board.
Okay. As an example of, I think Jeremy is correct that there's an important distinguishment between new player and casual player. It's like, in some games, like there's obviously we know what a new player is, but in a lot of games, Tyler, one of our locals, I know you know Tyler, he plays games at a very casual intensity level.
Right.
Like, he's there to do the thing, try and have some fun, and he honestly does not care if he wins or loses. And he is a good player, but like, he doesn't, like, when he's at the store, he's there to relax. He's not there to try. And so I think he approaches it from a very good natured perspective. And so sometimes playing Tyler, like, if we just do the thing and like it's very easy to run him over in some games, which isn't fun for either person. So like, you want to make it closer, and so we get to, like, do all the punchy stuff and like things like that.
I think that when it's game night and we're just playing games, I know that I switch off my think tank a lot. I'll give it like 15 seconds of like, I'm going to go into the tank and try and figure out this puzzle. And I'm like, fuck it, we're fighting. Like, yeah, I just click it over.
Speed chess. You're like, okay, we're just moving models. Like,
I mean, we even
this guy's going here.
When Aaron was beating me up with Oleg, like, and we found out that the mats are a little bit off, that move where I moved to the back, I was like, fuck it, I'm going. Like, it didn't have to do with like winning at that moment. It was like, he gave me that, I guess I'll go do it. I didn't know long-term effect. Like, I really didn't care. Like, we were just playing. And to me, I always find that interesting about games like that, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It's not like we're marking down wins unless you're Aaron. But, oh, and also, by the way, 2 things. Number 1, make sure you mark down some demerits for Parker. He threw in a Fast and Furious reference moments ago, and that doesn't fly.
That was me. I did the Fast and Furious reference.
No. He said had your car. You didn't have your car. That was you.
Yeah.
Well, but I did it first. I said that you live your life 12 control points at a time.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Both of you sons of bitches.
Also,
mark yourself both down.
No, there's no.
Right.
The Fast and the Furious. I'm willing to make this a Always Sunny in Philadelphia / Fast and the Furious theme podcast.
Oh, no.
I feel like
I
this
am
is
not
important
willing to do that. So, Parker, you're off the podcast.
Okay, well, if this is the line of the sand, I will not cross it. I will make Fast and the Furious references.
No, you make references, but we're not going to put it on a t-shirt.
Okay, deal. That's fine. I'll take that deal.
Unless, wait, hold on.
Ugh, God.
Never had. All right, go ahead.
2, there's just so much to learn in every single game. Like, I find myself, maybe I'm just not as smart as everyone else. That could be too, donkey brains and all. But just some of the
I have
just
a certificate.
Click and go kind of stuff, and just see how it washes out. I found more interesting little like nuggets in that than I do, going down the well, and I'm like, okay, we'll do this and this, and I'll shore up every bet, and I'll just move a 1/4 inch. Okay, your turn. Like, I don't know. I like to throw stuff out there and see what sticks sometimes, and that's the time to do it.
Yep. All right, Aaron, do you have any differences in play? I think we covered that you don't, right?
So, against a newer or casual player, sure. I will normally play my first 2 turns, no holds barred, because I want to see how my list will perform. This off meta list that I have, right? How are these interactions? And I can't do that playing a GIMP strategy. And once I get to a point in the game where I'm like, okay, I can kind of see in my mind how the next 2 turns would play out. I've got some good data in my mind from how these models have performed. Now on turn 3 or 4, I will generally abandon all strategy and hope and Leroy Jenkins the rest of the game. Opponent depending, right? I might just be like, okay, just like Parker said, I'm not going to take the scenario play, but unlike him, I will flat out feed him models. But we're going to roll a bucket load of dice. Like, I'm going to move and attack, and I'm not going to attack the person I should. I'll just attack someone that I know I won't kill or shouldn't kill. That way they have a lot of power, and then my opponent has a buttload of power to be like, look at this! I can charge and throw and master swordsman and do whatever I want. And you can kind of tell, again, opponent dependent, the amount of joy that they have from the game then on. So I get to have my strategic level think tank for about 2.5 turns, and then they get to throw a bunch of dice and use a bunch of powers. And at some point, who cares who wins that game? This is against a newer opponent. So as they get more and more seasoned, then I keep the think tank on longer and longer and longer.
Can I say something? There is one like key phrase that if I hear it, then I immediately like gloves come off and I'm playing to win. And if I hear my opponent say I'm trying to get better at the game, I go, okay, then I'm gonna play the game. I'm going to try to win this game.
I have a question.
That's just something I thought of.
Do you try and help them get better, or do you just try and kill them?
No. It's still a learning experience. I'm still going to have that learning conversation, but we're talking about like when do you choose to attrition instead of just going for the control win? I do go ahead and move them off the point and throw and stand on the control point or do whatever.
So you should 100% be playing a optimal strategy. But I think there's something to be said if they're like, I'm trying to get better, and they're still fairly fresh and they don't understand a lot of interactions. Like, obviously, starting at a point where they can recognize like what's going on instead of just like running over the top. But yeah, obviously, you should be showing them the highest levels of play, I think, if they're actively trying to become a good player.
Because I will say that I still, I will still with the giant carrot or asterisk, whatever, I will still make sure it's about what they want to learn. But if they want to learn how to get better at the game, then I'm going to use the mechanics of the game to get a victory, right? I'll definitely allow
if
them.
They say they're trying to get better, it sounds like they want to play against harder things,
right?
Because you're not going to get better if you keep playing against the same easy stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
If you bring Thanos, I will thrash you. Like that,
you'll get thrashed.
It is funny. Yeah, that is true, Jeremy. You will say it out loud. Oh, you're playing that model. Just so you know, if you put that model down on the board, there will be no quarter given.
Exactly. I will do everything I can
break you
to run you from the game,
strategically and physically.
So I see you're playing Captain America. Just so you know.
That's another trigger model. Yes.
He's hurt me, and I will hurt him.
So I think I got a good idea of how each of you view casual versus competitive games now. So I guess I'll just give a quick rundown. So Jeremy, would you say it would be accurate that if somebody asked you for a casual game, you would immediately play Sentinels?
I hate you so much.
He didn't say he would play something he hates.
If I had Sentinels, I would, but I've broken them all
I threw them all in the trash.
I burned them.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't do that to anybody.
But Jeremy, they love you this much.
Oh my god.
All right, moving on. I think that was a semi-productive segment. I don't know. Hopefully people thought that was interesting. I think there's a weird rift between casual players in a lot of games and competitive players in a lot of games. Like, for example, there's a group in the city that plays, air quotes, casually, and so they don't want to play against the tournament crowd. But I don't know, I feel like there's not as much of a rift as they think there is, but I don't know.
So
I would like to see a lot more crossplay.
like Brandon said, what started this whole topic was at LVO. I sat down and the guy wanted to play, and I'm like, if you don't have a game in 10 minutes, let me know. And he didn't. So I said, okay, let's play. And he said, I want to play a casual game. And I went, fuck.
What the hell's that mean?
I legit sat down and said, you're going to have to explain what that means to you. Like,
yeah.
Like,
because
do you want me to like
convention,
gimp my models? Like, I don't know. I don't know.
It's like people are here from all over the country and some like other countries as well. Like who knows what that person, like maybe they have a code word casual in their meta means you're playing single affiliation. Maybe casual in their meta means that you don't play with scenarios. I don't know. Like I know people that play without crises, and I'm like, okay, have fun. I'll see you guys later.
Like the best way I think most people understand that is in the takesies, backsies, and in the
that's I think what a lot of people think.
And often,
but also,
like if someone's close to being within one of the scenario, I'm like, oh yeah, you got it. You're within one, or you just push the little model so that they'll be a little closer, so that what they wanted to do works out. But I do that in my competitive games, so it doesn't fucking matter to me. They do their long
move, and they're like, oh, they're just barely out of range, but they probably could have been in if they were trying a little bit harder, like to make the more direct line.
Yeah.
And so you're good. It's close enough.
Yeah. The only thing I can't do is just shut off my brain. Like I don't know how to play at a different level.
That's interesting. That was actually something I was thinking about. Like, what is it that intimidates the casual player? Why is it that a casual player says, I'm not going to go play at this store or against this group of people? Because you use the word competitive, but I guess I would also say just like intellectually, seriously. Like there's, like, I guess if you're, I don't know. I don't know what it is that separates me from a casual player. So other than I want to think strategically.
I think obviously all of us approach the game for a very similar reason, is that we enjoy the mental exercise of the decision making and like the puzzles. It's like, okay, how do I get out of this bad situation I'm in? Like how do I take advantage of these matchups? And so like all that is like intellectually interesting to us. And so that's why, and that's probably why we're all in this podcast, because we all think similarly. As where there's some people that just go, I want Hulk to break people, like just rip them in half. And you're like, okay, I mean, I would probably play Ultimate Alliance, but you know what? Crisis Protocol works. Let's do it. Sure. Like, I mean, there's no problem with that. It's just not the way we approach the game. So it's kind of like a foreign concept a little bit. And so, but I think it's important that obviously everyone from the community is representative in in the way people play the game. So yeah, I think trying to understand the difference of what some people think would be a casual or competitive game is important. And so hearing what you guys think is the difference is cool, or at least how you approach it.
I guess I wish, kind of like you said, I wish that, I don't know, I guess maybe if they listen to the podcast, they would know how much we also love the models and the characters, except for Aaron. They're just husks with colors, but...
You're not wrong.
But I feel like if somebody told me they really, really, really loved the Sentinels, they just think the Sentinels are amazing and they just want to play the Sentinels, I would go, yes, let's play a game. I want to play Sentinels. Do you want to play against mutants so you can try to capture the mutants? That sounds awesome. Like, let's do it. Let's make something cinematic and fun.
And then say, too bad, here's She-Hulk. Get wrecked.
As it turns out,
perfect example.
It's secretly
like I watched an interaction where a player came up to Parker's like, Parker, I would like to play a game. This could be one of my first games of Marvel Crisis Protocol. Parker said, awesome. I'm so glad you're into the game. Let's play. And he says, I'm just looking for a casual game. He's like, no problem. So they sit down, they play Gamma Wave, and his opponent puts down She-Hulk playing A-Force against Parker. And his opponent double moves She-Hulk forward because he goes, she's like the tank, right? And Parker goes, yeah. So she double moves her max distance forward, medium, twice. Passes turn. Parker goes, good move, buddy, and then proceeds to web line in She-Hulk and kill her, and on the first turn. And that guy has never once played another game of Marvel Crisis Protocol. He just ruins the community.
But you did teach them something, didn't you?
Yeah, he taught them a lesson.
He's
Don't
the teacher.
Come to our store to play games.
Yeah. Get the fuck out, noob. And then he fucking kicked his car.
I mean, it didn't help that I was actively making fun of the guy while it was happening.
Yeah, it probably didn't help that you were just on his shoulder, guffawing at him, just like.
On the plus side, he now has season tickets to the Chiefs with us.
I'll say that was Connor, right?
Yeah,
that was Connor.
That was
Connor.
Shout out to Connor, toughest skin. Everybody I know.
Some of events in this story were exaggerated for comedic value.
Yeah.
But most were not.
I want to say most.
Anyway, moving on.
Was legit. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually that sounded more true than what life was at the time. All right, but that's gonna wrap it up for us today. Thank you guys for joining. I hope you had a good time. This has been Brandon or Mulus on Discord. Don't at me.
This has been Parker. At me all you want, I guess.
Ooh.
This is Jeremy. Get wrecked, noobs.
And this is Aaron.
And you have just listened to a bunch of tryhards.
So what are we going to call this thing?
I got it. Okay. Incredible, new, fantastic, astonishing, mighty, original, uncanny, sensational podcast.
I'm just going to put down infamous.
And we are back.
Boom,
We
boom,
did
boom,
it.
boom, boom, boom.
Another flawless, non-flame war starting episode in the
Jesus Christ, stop it.
From moment
I
one,
told it.
he couldn't handle it.
I like pushing buttons and stirring things around.
It's like in The Office. Like, I'm not going to be able to do this.
Do you really think you can go all day? Well, you always left me satisfying finally.
Oh my
Anyway,
God.
back to the real topics. Jeremy, are you tired? Because you look tired.
Have you ever stood on a hill that was
45
about
degree
45
incline?
degrees for like 7 hours?
No, Jeremy, it was 37 degrees
Oh yeah.
outside. The
Oh.
hill was 45 degrees.
I was gonna say
though.
no. That was a good angle. You could tell it was
If you
45
combine
degrees.
them, we didn't
Yeah.
quite get to 90. We were just short of the 90 degrees if you combine the weather and the incline.
Yeah, my voice kept reminding me of how far and how long we have traveled. Every 10
We
minutes.
walked. So we were looking at the route we took. I think we walked 5 miles.
Yeah, that's about right. It felt like that, and it was.
And luckily, you only carried the cooler for like 2 of it.
My favorite was the entire journey back was uphill.
That was amazing because we went up a bridge, down a bridge, and then somehow it was uphill the whole way.
Oh man, what a journey!
Yeah. For those that are unaware, the Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl parade was today, and so we went.
And if you
I'm
win,
exhausted.
if you win a Super Bowl, you are masters of the world because it says that you are the world grand ultra champion of whatever you're doing, not just America. Not just America's, the
not,
world.
Not just the world champions of America's, the
Yeah.
world champions of the whole world.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm. We might talk a little bit about football later on, but for right now, we're just talking about the parade. Can I just tell you, Jeremy, how happy I am? Because this has been a whirlwind. We did LVO, and then myself and Aaron went to Des Moines, hang out with the Muse on crew. So we were traveling for that, and now we had the parade, we had the Super Bowl, we had the AFC Championship game in Vegas. It's been an absolute whirlwind.
It has.
I'm so happy. I'm looking forward so much just to rest and relax all weekend. I'm not going to leave the house for 1 minute. I'm just going to lay in bed and watch TV, and it's going to be amazing.
Wait. I think.
Don't tell me. There's not.
You know what? We're
going
gonna surprise you. We'll surprise you on Friday. That's fine.
Oh my god, it's gonna be like old school. I get kidnapped in a parking lot. I don't want to go.
It's kind of coming to that. Like all these trips and things, I have honestly run out of clothes. Like I just can't.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I did the laundry, and I was like, "Wow, I did laundry a week ago. Why did I do laundry a week ago? Oh yeah, because I left the state. Like, oh my god, how did I run out of clothes already? Oh, anyway,
I have trips planned every weekend through March 4th. And that dates back to the first of the year.
and then you have a week off. Then you're going to Adepticon.
2 weeks. Well, There is an event in Kansas on the 18th that I am undecided as of for right now. So, yes, March 11th would be a week off. And then I have Kansas, Adepticon, Blood Bowl April 1st, probably MCP and the Geekery on the 8th. So, if I can find something to fill March 11th, that'd be January 1st to at least mid-April, where I have been gone every single weekend.
Isn't April 1st MCP at the Geekery?
You would know since you're the manager, and the answer is no.
I think you're a liar, but we'll go with it.
Okay. That was the month that got screwed up with 40K being moved to the 1st.
Uh-oh.
We can look it up later.
I think that was last year. I'm actually very curious. I'm going to check now. Because I'm pretty sure I did not put it on the second Saturday when I scheduled it on.
I hope it is. I
calendar.
couldn't go if it's on the 1st.
Me either.
Oh, it signed me out?
So, have we reserved like a room for Adepticon yet?
Nope.
We'll be fine.
You guys don't even
what's
have a
to go wrong?
game at Adepticon yet. I think you should probably.
Fuck you! Hey! Whoa! Whoa! We play
Parker,
when we want to
I
play.
can't deal with you calling me out for being like casual at
Jesus.
going to conventions.
Maybe we just want to play in Chicago, and we'll just play games. Is that okay with you, Parker? Is that
Yeah.
okay?
Nah, I
Is it
guess.
okay?
We'll go into the 40K rooms and just find an empty table and just start playing.
Just to clarify, we will not be playing 40K. We'll just be in the 40K.
Yeah,
rooms.
with the MCP stuff, yeah.
Yeah, because everyone's going to quit that game by then anyway.
There's only a handful of people left, from what I could
Yeah,
tell from
it's like-
Vegas.
There's 6. I think they're down to 6 now.
16,000 million. 16,000 million.
So anyway, moving on. So yeah, there's a lot of events. That's exciting and tiring. I'm very tired. Oh boy.
I've been watching. I tried to pick up on Andor again, and
What do you mean? Like you stopped watching it?
yeah, I got to about the 5th episode, and I was like, I'll pick this up later, and I never
Oh.
did. Then I started watching it again, and man, I just keep falling asleep and waking up, and there's like incredible like journeys that people are going through, and I don't know how they got there. So I need to start again. I'm like, I don't know how these people. Are there.
The first like 5 episodes are kind of slow.
Yeah.
But then it really picks up steam. Because it's kind of setting like they have to explain this guy's very complex mindset.
Yeah, it seems good. Like I'm the parts I see, I'm like, excellent. I'm into this, and then I wake up.
Yeah. Much like Parker likes to complain about on Rogue One, they really try to make the like change of hearts feel earned, and unlike in the 90-minute movie, they're able to do that in the television show. That's like 9 hours.
All I know is I saw Forrest Whitaker and the guy who plays Golem and
Guy who plays Golem.
yeah,
I don't recall
Andy
that guy.
Cerveka, Andy Serdekas, or what is his name? I don't know. He plays Claw and Black Panther.
Oh yeah.
That guy. He's in there.
I don't remember him in Andor, but I'm sure
Yeah,
he's there.
in
Oh,
there.
yeah. I forgot.
Like I
I
say,
remember
I
now.
keep waking up to these like famous people, and I'm like, I don't understand what's going on.
Why are you here?
Why are you here?
What
This must
do
be
you
important.
want? All right. Yeah, Andor was good. Have you ever just assumed a television show ended on a series finale?
Huh? I don't know.
and
Probably.
Like it wasn't the series finale; it was just a regular season finale. But you're like, wait, what? How are they gonna go again? Like that doesn't even make sense. So one of the
okay.
shows I was watching, I got through the 9th season, and then I watched the season finale. I'm like, oh, okay, cool, that show's over. I took it off my list, and there apparently are 2 more seasons for it now, and I was like, whoops. I guess I should watch those.
I think that every time I watch the Fast and Furious.
Like, oh, well, I saw the last Fast and the Furious movie.
Well, there's no way they'll make another one of these. Huh?
I
9
heard
more.
this time they're gonna settle a colony on the moon. I think that's the plot.
So, Parker, what is your understanding of why they cancel school on football day?
On
What's
parade
my
day.
understanding of why they canceled it?
Yeah, is it so? There's 2 ways to think of it. Number one, everybody's off, so they can all come to the parade and celebrate the town, or
Mhm.
you trashy ass teachers all get drunk and shit and are no good to the students. I've heard both versions of those. So which one?
I think it's just personnel. They know they're not going to be able
number
to fill all
two.
the slots in the classrooms. No, I think people are just going to call in. I think people are going to call in, and they can't make you come work. So
Yeah,
that's 100% what it is.
I think one, a
too
lot
many
of people want to go. Two, a lot of people want to take their kids.
Mhm.
Three, a lot of the civil capital is being used that day. So like buses, security, RSO officers, stuff like that. Like a lot of those people get pulled to go do the parade stuff. Like all of the they used all of the snow removal trucks to block roads, and so like it's like all that stuff's down there. So they have to have all the people who can drive that stuff. Like all of those people, like the amount of people they have just to organize parade is insane.
I would say that's probably true for Casey most schools, but I know a lot of Johnson County stuff was not being pulled over
Sure.
for that, and we were still.
No,
it's 100%. I think for us, it's 100% just the
and not to
personnel
mention
factor.
any school close to downtown is going to be like a nightmare to get in and out of.
Yeah.
Our
Well, I know-
district was canceled, and it's for the reason you said, Parker. All the teachers were going to fucking call in sick.
yeah. So
Yeah.
that really, like, the first time this happened, so the Royals won first, right? Like that was the big thing that happened in the last,
Mhm.
few years.
2017. I believe.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And when they shut my kids' school down and stuff, I was like, oh my God. Like, they're like 5 years old and they'll just, I guess, sit in the house by themselves. Like, it was just so random. And
Like, I gotta go to work.
yeah, I'm like, I got work. Like, I don't know what you're supposed to do
Mhm.
here. Like, the society is not built on this. It was so weird.
It is funny how quickly society comes grinding to a halt when they have to watch their own damn kids.
When they're your kids, you don't call it babysitting. I heard that, by the way, just so you know.
So it's 3 parades in 8 years, 7 years technically, I think.
And then
'Cause I think
now,
the parade happened after January.
So now
I don't know how baseball season works.
does all of Kansas City now, are we required to go to Philly and just like collect all the bodies and like sweep up all the broken
No.
glass?
Although, did you hear?
No, I haven't heard anything.
Parker gave us the teaser. He didn't tell us the full Monty. We get the Rocky statue until the Eagles win.
Oh, that's what it is.
No, like that's in addition to the art thing.
Oh,
Yeah, like they have to ship us the Rocky statue because we beat them.
You're not kidding. This is not
I
a
mean,
punchline.
that was on Twitter, so there's
Oh.
no way it's false.
Oh, okay, cool.
I saw it on Facebook. It's a fact.
Yeah,
It's a fact. I read it in books.
I think Aaron needs to give us an apology. By the way, yes, he's pointing to himself. I am in fact talking about you.
This
Oh,
era?
wait. That
He
Aaron?
turned
Wow.
around and acted like football was the dumbest thing in the entire universe when we talked
Uh-huh.
about football last
Yep.
time. And then he watched the Super Bowl and enjoyed it. And so
You son of
I
a
feel
bitch.
feel like we need an apology.
Go fuck yourself.
I never
those
hear him say
dips.
it's the dumbest thing ever. I just think he doesn't. I've never got that intimation from Aaron. I've always got it's not the thing he's choosing to spend his energy and money and life on, but
He put on the uniform. Come on.
Yeah.
We saw you.
I did.
Yeah.
which
that was-
which is a good thing. You don't bust his balls for wanting to participate because he didn't before. That makes it so hard for anybody to ever
Well,
want
he
to
mocked
participate.
me last time. I was like, Chiefs are awesome.
Well, let's be fair. You were in the room, and so was he, and so he was going to find something to mock you for. That's
like,
Anyway,
I don't hate the Chiefs.
We
I don't
accept your
hate football.
apology, Aaron. We'll move on.
Sure.
and by the way, Aaron, that was a kind of a aggressive way to handle like a political backlash kind of situation. So good job.
A little bit, yeah. I'm trying to learn from you. I'm failing, but trying.
Mm.
You have to crawl first. Then you'll walk.
Yeah,
Then you'll run.
Was I aggressive enough? Give me some feedback after the cast is over.
more aggressive.
More.
You should kick me from the Discord call and then ban me.
Ooh, how do I do that?
I don't think you can. If you can, I am unfortunately getting banned. That's like for a long time, Jeremy didn't think he could change his name in Discord because
No.
I was just the one doing it.
Yeah.
And he's like, wait, I have permission to do this? Like, you've always had permission to do this.
It's like I was my like prisoner, and the door was unlocked the whole time.
Mm.
All I had to do was
Yeah.
leave.
It was a prison built within your own mind,
Just walk out.
which is like spider webs and dust, but, like, it's still there. All right. So, we still good for our topic we talked about last week, Aaron?
Remind me.
The different ways you approach a game from either a competitive or casual mindset.
Oh, I can give my 2 cents on it. I don't think that's a full topic, but I can start us off.
I think it can be.
Okay. We can see where it takes us.
And then we can just fill the extra time with Super Bowl talk,
Okay.
which I know you're super excited about.
I have models to paint. We're good.
See, I told you he's doing it
Here he
again.
goes again. He's doing it again. Something happened with models in my car again.
What?
Oh, no.
Yeah. I don't know when or where or how, but I looked over and Mysterio is missing one of his hands. Do you know how small that is?
That happened a long time ago.
My Mysterio's had his hand until, like, this week.
No, I popped that thing off like a month ago.
I'll kill you. Dude, I'll just fucking, when you're not looking, I'll pop off your fucking dude's arm, and I'll just take it.
I'll kill you.
Dude, like, I am so, like, I just don't even want to work on models anymore, because that one little piece of arm is missing. My completionist thing is, like, just going crazy.
It's okay. He's like my Medusa. She's missing an arm too.
Oh my god.
A
Were they
hand,
born
rather.
that way?
No. Medusa decided she wanted to get really close and personal with the Geek Grease floor before they put carpet in.
Ooh. Yeah.
Oh, I remember that, actually.
Yeah.
I'm going to dig around my car more and try to find it, but if I can't, I'm just going to make his hand into smoke. Just more smoke.
Just green stuff smoke.
Pretty much. But, man, that's frustrating.
All right, so this is going to come out Friday? Oh, no. Oh, wait, then we'll probably be okay. I was like, do I have to get up super early to edit the podcast again? That would be terrible. It's like, I want to sleep.
When do you guys want to make plans? Tomorrow?
I was thinking we'd do it tonight after the podcast.
It's fine with me too.
Sorry, I'm going through and deleting all of our old data.
So maybe someone can explain, because I think there's more to it than what Brandon was telling me. So maybe y'all can help enlighten me. How is that Urza dude still in the Flash, and why is everyone excited about that movie? Because he did, like, literally kidnap some motherfucker.
I don't think this is really the topic we should be broaching on our podcast right
No,
now.
no. But why, like, did we imagine it?
I feel like this is really not something we want to get into.
I don't know enough about it.
I really don't
do
have
not
to
know
start
enough about
banning
it to
people.
comment, honestly, 100%.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know enough about it either, but I know that it's not something we want to start digging into.
Well, I just didn't know if there was a fact I was missing, but okay, fine.
I'm quite certain it involves some kind of politics that I don't care to learn about.
TLDR, Brandon.
I don't know. I just know that everyone gets mad at everything nowadays, so I just leave
Okay.
it alone.
I was just wondering. It's supposed to be a good movie.
Yeah, it looks like it's probably going to be the best DC movie they've made, so, cool.
I'm almost through the Defender series. Like
Oh boy.
8/13.
8/13.
Well, there's 13 seasons.
What a weird fraction you used. I wonder how you got that.
Yeah.
Did you finish Daredevil?
If he's watching it in
only-
order, you do 2 seasons of Daredevil, right? Then Defenders.
You
Then
do
the third
Daredevil,
season.
Jessica, Daredevil, Luke Cage, Colleen Wing, Defenders, Punisher, Jessica Jones, and Luke
Wait,
Cage.
there was a Colleen Wing show?
Yeah. It also had some like weird guy named Danny, but really it was all about Colleen.
Oh,
Who's Colleen?
Oh my
it was
god.
the girl with the sword.
Yes.
She's the girl who owns like the martial arts studio that Danny lives in for like a week.
Mhm.
Anyway, she's the other person on the Iron Fist show.
Okay, I've never watched Iron Fist. Okay.
Yeah, that's why you don't know. Okay.
Thus the Colleen Wing show. It's got to change who you're following in the show, and the show is much better. So I've got 5 to go. I just started Luke Cage 2, and give me another week and a half or so. I'd imagine there's quite a few nuggets we can take out of currently playing, given the fuck ton of games I've played in the last week.
I think you only played 1 game, didn't you?
Basically.
That was cool.
Yeah, don't strike your microphone, please.
I didn't. I got to get a new one. This thing's fucked.
Well, just stop tongue lashing it. You're not
Dude.
Toad. Stop trying.
That's tape. Like something happened and it like broke. That's why we got to get this Patreon thing up and running.
Yeah.
Jeremy
Buy
needs
you a new
headset.
microphone.
Yeah, I need a new headset.
Yeah, we're putting all the money into the Jeremy's new headset fund.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Glad we're on the same page.
Luckily, you weren't looking at the camera at the time when I'm just shaking my head no.
Hey, we're actually looking at a situation where, actually, it's gonna be a strange situation. We'll see. Tomorrow, there may be another snow day. There's a pretty
That's
good
what I
chance,
heard.
actually. Fairly good chance. I would say 80% chance of snow day, which means I might be at there early tomorrow, maybe, because my child could also be sick, and I'm not dragging a sick kid into the shop. So,
Snow from 7 to 9, huh?
I don't
In
know.
the morning?
Yeah,
Where's it hitting?
I don't know.
Everywhere.
That's in Warrensburg.
Mine says
40%.
4 a.m.
40%.
here.
Okay.
Oh, that's not terrible.
Yeah, it's about 50% and then drops pretty quickly.
50% for what?
Snow.
Chances no.
Chance.
Shawnee's
What's the
got
temperature for
Shawnee's got a
tomorrow?
winter weather advisory. Freezing rain, snow, and sleet likely before 4 a.m. Then snow and freezing rain lightly mixed up till 5. Cloudy with a high of 24. Gust of wind 25, which drops it down. The total chance of precipitation is 60%. Nighttime ice accumulation's only a 1/10 of an inch, is what they're thinking. But that's still.
That's an amount.
Yeah. The total nighttime snow and sleet accumulation less than 1/2 inch. Then Thursday morning is more snow before noon. This is Shawnee's weather. Cloudy, doesn't get above freezing. Still high wind, less than an inch. They think. The problem is the ice and the rain, and so. The other problem again is facility stuff. We have such a low what do they call it? Classified positions in our district right now. Like even if the roads are clear, we don't have enough bus drivers. We don't have enough people to clear the sidewalks off. Like you can't even get in the building basically. So that's why they're calling things off right now in our district so fast. Is because
So you don't have maintenance staff.
yeah, we don't have any facility staff or the people to if 3 people call in sick for buses because they don't want to drive in the snow, that's it. Like you can't get buses. So that's how limited everything is right now.
Okay. Let's go ahead and get started. What do you guys think?
Yes, please.
Okay.
All right.
Trying hard.
We're just trying, bro.
I'm just hard.
So hard right now.
So hard. Just a public information announcement for everyone. If you haven't seen the movie Walk Hard, A Dewey Cox Story, stop what you're doing and go watch it. It's fucking amazing.
So hard.
Parker, would you agree that it's the only music documentary you need to watch?
Yeah.
Facts.
In fact, that and This Is Spinal Tap. I'm a big fan of This Is Spinal Tap.
Well, that's just like a spoof, right?
It's a mockumentary, but I love mockumentaries.
All right, now 1 hour and 20 minutes of Chiefs Super Bowl talk. Go.
I'd like to start it.
Aaron looks very concerned. He's like, "Wait a second."
I just like to
No.
open this with something. Would you, because the internet has identified me as a gamer nerd, it sends me information about Henry Cavill constantly. Like I care. but it constantly sends me information about Henry Cavill. It's like, did you know that there's somebody famous and good looking that also likes the stuff you like? I'm like, yes, I know, internet. Thanks, I guess. But
thanks. I guess I'll go put my head in the microwave.
Right. But in one of these,
oh my ugliness.
Yeah. In one of these internet cross references, all the data points that I click on, it recognized that I also like the Chiefs. And did you know that Henry Cavill is a monster Chiefs fan?
Monster Chiefs fan's probably an exaggeration, but yes, he is a Chiefs fan.
Yeah, he's a big Chiefs fan. I did not know this. That
Again,
he was such a big Chiefs fan.
might be an exaggeration. He is a Chiefs fan.
No, I think he's a pretty big Chiefs fan. As much as a celebrity from the UK who didn't have any experience knowing football and had
that's probably a fair statement. Yeah. That we'll go with that one. The third one's a charm.
Right. He has no reason to.
Well, you know why he's a Chiefs fan, right?
It's because he heard in the script for his first Superman movie, Clark Kent is from Kansas, and so he picked Kansas City because of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're happy to have him. I'm glad he likes the Chiefs. He picked them for about as good of a reason most fans from not a hometown pick a team.
Yeah.
So it's totally legitimate.
Yeah.
It's good that he's a fan. I don't know that I call him huge Chiefs fan. I believe he's been to one game in which he got to be on the sideline, and he thought it was a insane experience and that people are psychotic, but it was a good time.
Yeah. I thought he was. I saw the interview about that. And I don't know if he's been to more games.
Well, it's hard to measure, So a regular person, how do you measure how much of a Chiefs fan they are? Like how depressed they get when they lose, how much money they spend to go to games, how do you measure it? So celebrities obviously are busy. They generally live far away because, why would a large celebrity live in Kansas? But at the same time, Paul Rudd goes to a lot of games, and he's at all of the important ones, and he's super vocal in the community. He's always doing stuff. He was at Super Bowl, interviewed, all the time. He's talking about the Chiefs. I would say Paul Rudd is probably the biggest celebrity Chiefs fan.
When you type in Paul Rudd, you get Paul Rudd movie, Paul Rudd Chiefs. That's
exactly. Yeah. On Google, that's his if you go to his Wikipedia, he's wearing it like a Mahomes jersey. He cares about the Chiefs. So where Henry Cavill, I'm sure, is a fan, but I don't know. I just when people's oh, he's a big fan. He's is he a big fan?
He is.
How are you judging the scale? Yeah, it's just a statement people make.
Right.
He better not stop listening to our podcast because of your fucking hate.
Henry Cavill is gonna.
I have nothing but positive things to say about him. The internet has shown me tons of things about him, and I've never been.
I have nothing against Henry Cavill. I also get annoyed when the internet's did you know that this Henry Cavill guy likes things you like? I'm a lot of people like things I like. I like good things. You don't need to tell me every single person that likes things I like, especially when I'm never going to talk to this person. That's not even relevant. That's why I don't understand why people care when celebrities like the things they like. You realize that doesn't matter, right?
But it gives them validation that they absolutely don't need it, but that's what it gives them.
Sure, they're okay, well, maybe this guy that I'm a fan of likes something I like. Okay, now we're talking. But when she's random celebrity, I'm why do I care if Meryl Streep is a fucking Chiefs fan?
Right.
I don't care.
That's The Witcher
and so it's just weird that people think I do what?
The Witcher and I are almost identical in the things that we
it is loosely based on my life.
You know what? Actually, it's funny. It means less to us than it does who know us and Henry Cavill. If my grandmother found out that Henry Cavill liked the things that I like, she'd be oh, now it puts it into some sort of perspective for them. I think it's really.
I feel that's also a thing with generations. People are famous now for no reason, as were people back in the day. Getting famous was a big deal.
You think?
Because people had less access to other people.
Okay.
And so it was okay, so how big of a star do you think John Wayne was?
He was completely captivating for a generation, right?
Right. So how many people, to the point that John Wayne was super famous, were as famous as John Wayne?
What?
You could write the list probably. There's a lot of people, but it's a manageable amount. As we're now, it's how many people have been as famous as Paul Rudd? You're I don't know, millions, millions at this point.
Yeah.
It's just people.
Okay.
It's someone did something, like they're now famous. Like,
Sometimes like a sex
matter.
tape, and then all of a sudden.
Yeah,
they are
exactly.
famous.
Sometimes you fell out of somebody and now you're rich, and
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, just move on. Like, who cares? Like, I don't see why it's relevant that the people think that other people. Like, it just blows me away. It's like that people think that famous people are not just people. It's like, obviously they're going to be fans of something, but like,
Yeah.
the news article that you just talked about is person on planet Earth is fan of sports team, and you're like, man, what a news article. I'm just like, I want to blow my brains out.
It sounds like
I
that
don't
sounds like
understand.
it sounds like the
It's
Onion.
the stupidest shit ever.
Yeah.
It's just clickbait crap. That, like, why would you ever intentionally read that?
Yeah.
Oh, it's just so dumb. But it's like Henry Cavill goes to first Super Bowl game. You're like, okay, that's actually, there's some information in there.
Yeah.
Like, I just still don't care, but like,
Right.
there's information.
The internet, the algorithm's got to give me
Anyway.
something, or else what was it there
Anyway,
for?
yeah, right? What if there's not clickbait ads on every fucking screen you look
Yeah.
at? Like, oh my god, who cares?
Show me more because it's like me and I love it.
Oh, do you want to hear a fun anecdote? When I was talking to Alexa,
Mhm.
she was listening to our podcast, and we said, and we're like, I'm Mutilus on the forums. Jeremy's like, I'm Jeremy on the forums. Like, this is Tweak on the forums. She was going to the forums and searching for us, and she
Nice.
never found us because we didn't post. We just made accounts and looked. We just like surfed the forums and never made a post. And she's like, "Where are they?" Like, for so long. She
That's
apparently
funny.
been trying to get a hold of us for like 8 months to try and
Oh.
schedule a crossover episode. And I was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And then she's like, "Then you guys switched to Discord." I was like, "Oh, finally, I can talk to them." And then, like, we're not in any of the other Discord channels. We're only
Yeah.
in our server.
Oh, that is funny. Yeah.
And she's like, "These people are lying to me. They're not in any of these fucking places." And I thought that was very funny.
We have our own Discords with just our names
Right,
and just
And
us
so
in it.
eventually she just messaged Jacob. And it's like, he did a Danger Renew episode. Clearly, Jacob knows this guy. Jacob was not on the episode I was on. And so, but he's like, "No, but I have talked to Brandon. Here's his Discord." And so that's how I got the message. I just thought that was a crazy story. Like, we've tried we have a Facebook page. I tried so hard to be available, but we stopped reading all the contact us stuff so long ago because it's just like filler words at this point. So it's just funny. I wonder how many people are trying to get a hold of us and just can't.
It's perfect.
At least what,
Definitely
foreign
the
currency.
IRS, but beyond them.
The IRS doesn't want to touch me. They don't want to go in there.
Yeah.
Wait till we get our Patreon up and running. The IRS will want
I
to
know.
know about that.
You keep saying Patreon. So the plan is to do a Patreon at some point in the vaguely near future. And I know I said I was going to work on shirts as soon as we got back from LVO, but I mean, I don't want to say I didn't believe in the Chiefs, but I had not scheduled the following 2 weeks of LVO to be nonstop Chiefs things. And so, like, that's not my fault. Like, it's got to be a thing. And now I'm going to be out of town this weekend too. So the soonest I'll be able to work on shirts is going to be the last week of February. And then I'll have to get them produced. So we're probably looking at sometime around Adepticon in March for shirts. But I am going to talk to my shirt guy this weekend. So there's that.
Cool.
All right. So Super Bowl. Parker, did you watch the Super Bowl?
I watched it with you actually, and
that's right.
and Jeremy.
Memorable.
It was. I will say this. It felt like, as much as I was excited that we won, as much as I was happy and very satisfied that we won, it was somehow, and maybe I'm wrong, but it was somehow less impactful than years ago.
You are very wrong.
I felt as if I was like, what's the best way to put it? I was like, oh, good.
Inevitable?
I was like, good for them. I didn't like walk away like this is the great night. What an awesome night. It actually didn't feel as good as the AFC Championship. To me,
So the AFC Championship was big. I think we were just emotionally drained at that point. There had been so much had happened in the last month that was just like, it was hard to get there. So legacy wise, like what this Super Bowl means for history, I think it is actually noticeably more important than the first one.
okay.
Now, for the emotional dam breaking of like being a Chiefs fan for 20 something years
Yeah.
and finally like that, like we thought we were cursed for, like legitimately thought we were cursed for so long. And I'm not a very superstitious person, but like I do some small stuff. Like I don't wash my jersey throughout the season. I only wash it at the end of the year. Like I have this like I don't know, chant I'll say in my head right before field goals at this point, but it's just like a good luck thing. It's not like I don't do like prayers and stuff. I figure if God has to get involved in my sports games, that's not a good sign. So I try not to pray for stuff. I did pray at one football game, but I decided to not do that. I was like, I'm not going to be that guy. Anyway. So like I'm not super superstitious, but man, after a while of just getting your heart broken in so many first round playoff games, it was just like, how does this always happen? Like there was the Titans game where we had like 4 horrifically bad calls that led to turnovers being deleted. And it was just like how? And then the ref retires after the game. You're like, yeah, that's not suspicious at all. And like we had like a pass thrown by a quarterback who was past the line of scrimmage, and that didn't get called, get deflected by Darrelle Revis, probably the greatest quarterback ever since Deion Sanders. Got deflected back to the quarterback who rushed for a touchdown. It was just like, really? Like, is this real life? Like, that happened. We were up like 28-7 against the Colts, and they are rushing for their second touchdown of the game. The running back fumbles the ball at the goal line. We have 5 guys surrounding the ball, and Andrew Luck just runs up, grabs the ball, and dives into the end zone. And then we end up losing that game by a field goal at the gun. It was just like, really? We had another game where like Jamal Charles and 4 other people got concussions during a game and all got pulled, and we lost the game because like all of our good starters were out. I was just so many absolute crushing victories or losses that were like had promise behind them. It wasn't like we were like super outgunned in every game. And then all of that leads to finally Patrick Mahomes' second season. And like I was at the AFC Championship game against the Patriots the previous year, and like we were so sure we were going to win that game. Like throughout the game, like towards the end, we came back, we got to overtime. It's just to have your heart ripped out right at the end. And that game had a bunch of really, really questionable ref calls, and it was just like, nope, we're just cursed. It's just never going to happen. We're going to be that team. Like it's going to be Matt Stafford all over again. Like, you know, great quarterback and just can't ever do anything because like just everything goes against them in the worst times. And finally that all gets taken away with the Super Bowl run. And now, like the second one, it doesn't have the same emotional component, but I think for like looking back, I think it will actually matter more. Does that make sense?
You still haven't explained why, because there aren't that many franchises that get to experience this level of success in succession.
So yeah, like there's outliers, right? Like teams win the Super Bowl, and like it's an obvious outlier. Like let's say the Rams last year. The Rams have gotten to 2 Super Bowls, but they did it by like completely leveraging their entire future. Like the franchise is basically a dumpster fire at this point. Like there's nothing left. They sold all their draft picks. They overspent free agency. They mortgaged their future. All their guys were on expiring contracts, and like they're done. Like all their money's spent. All their draft picks are spent for years to come, and all of their good players are gone already. Like they're done. There was, what was like the Philly Super Bowl was kind of a miracle, and then they got back this year, but they have like a totally different team basically. I'm trying to think of like miracle like one-off Super Bowls, but like it's very easy for it to be like, okay, that was good, you guys got a Super Bowl, but like you weren't sustained success. And so like legacy wise, like a quarterback that gets 2 Super Bowls is generally like just printed into the Hall of Fame, which I'm not a big fan of because I don't think team success should be graded on a single player. But yeah, the team accomplishing 2 Super Bowls in 4 years is great. It's very meaningful, especially after the bad loss at the last one.
I know everybody loves them some Pat Mahomes, and that's what they want to talk about. That's all they want to talk about. But the person I want to win is Andy Reid, because for me, I think it says more about a coach, and coaches are these. Yeah, I know coaches making a lot of money, and they're given fanfare for sure, but they're not the ones on the Nike posters, right? Like they're not the ones in the commercials.
Yeah. Unless a coach truly transcends like an era,
Yeah.
they don't get remembered very
Right.
well.
And you're exactly right. They don't make this kind of legacy in the sport like star players do. But I love to see someone like Andy Reid reach that level. That's what I want, because I think he is an extraordinary coach, an extraordinary person. I think he deserves to have it, and he wouldn't have it if he didn't just have rings, right? And it will, like, if you told me Pat Mahomes went to a different team tomorrow, I'd be, oh man, I'd be devastated. But if you told me Andy Reid was leaving tomorrow, I think I would weep.
I like Andy Reid a lot. He's probably my favorite coach. Yeah, I think he's my favorite coach of all time.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to say out loud, because Marty Schottenheimer used to be my favorite coach. And I have a lot of like positive memories of Marty. But yeah, Andy I think is my guy. I think the reverse would be true for me. I would be really devastated if we lost Andy. Like if Andy just said, I'm retiring, which by the way, he said repeatedly he's not retiring. If he said I'm retiring today, I would be devastated, but like I'd get over it. If Pat said he was retiring today, I would be a fucking wreck. And I like emotionally destroyed.
Yeah.
But for Andy, it's different, right? Because he's like in his 60s. Like he has accomplished so much and he's left his mark. Like Andy is a Hall of Fame coach. He's arguably top 5. And so like he's good, right? And I don't think people would argue that he left some on the table. Like he could have probably gotten another Super Bowl, got a ton more wins, especially with the team we have. But like he would be fondly remembered as making his mark on and leaving a legacy.
You mean you're saying if he left today is what you're saying?
Right.
Yeah.
Pat retired would be like Jordan retiring before he won a championship. Like that's the level of shit he would have left on the table. Like Pat can rewrite what it is to be a great player in the NFL. Like top to bottom.
I actually wasn't thinking retiring. I was just saying move to a different team, but yeah.
Sure. No, like but and so like if that's for me, that'd be the same. Like I'd always root for Pat a little bit, but like I'm a Chiefs fan, not an NFL fan.
Right.
And so like if you're not on my team, like it's hard for me to root for you. Like really hard. Like you have to be one of my all-time favorite players. But like that would rip my heart out. But yeah.
Anyway, less emotional impact this time. It was more just like, you know, put another one, put another ring on there, put another trophy up there, like good on you. But it feels a little bit like I'm going to display something. I used to be a monster KU basketball fan when I went to KU, and my final year there is when we won the national championship. But I went into High V earlier this year, and I walked up and there's this giant display of Wheaties with KU wins national championship, and I went, "We did?
Did we win?"
I
did the same thing.
I went.
I'm not a basketball fan though.
Yeah,
so.
But it's funny. And then I went home and I was like, "Did we win the national championship?" To my wife, and she goes, "Oh yeah, we watched that game." I go, "Oh crap, we did watch that game."
I watched the game.
We watched the game, but that is what I mean by like the emotional impact, right? Like since I didn't follow the whole season, you know, I'm not a member of the student body, you know, 10 years ago, and so even though I had such a huge super fan of that sport while I was there, I just had no emotional connection to it anymore. And even though I'm a big Chiefs fan still, I had less of an emotional connection knowing that we won a second time, which is what you know happened at the KU.
So also looking back at the first one, the 2019 Super Bowl, I think we were supposed to win that year. Like not like scripted, obviously, because I'm not an idiot, but the only real challenge we saw all year was the Niners in the Super Bowl, because like their pass rush was epic, and like, but that was the reason, right? Without that defensive line, which was by far the best in football, like they had no chance in that game. And that was the only team we faced where like, yeah, if we played them 10 times, we wouldn't win 6. And so that was a close game. And we ended up getting it like in like heroic fashion at the end. So where this year, like we played all the good teams. We beat all of them with what was considered to be a down roster compared to where we had been. And so like that's why I think it has a lot. Not to mention like the MVP of the game and the season was injured throughout the playoffs, which just added just like a crazy extra like weight on top of it.
That's a really good point. A lot of people when you hear commentators start the conversation about the Chiefs, even up to the Super Bowl, they're like, "And
Right.
we didn't see this happening." Like,
Dude,
nobody.
the narratives
nobody-
this year, you could write a whole page of narratives. They're just like, how did this happen?
Right. Yeah,
Like-
a lot of people wrote them off really fast, and they just
Aaron
didn't go away.
Rodgers had the exact same situation. They had a great team last year. Kate fell short in like the championship game or whatever, and then they trade away his number one receiver, and he turns into a pumpkin. And then they do the same thing for Pat, and then he has a better year and wins MVP and the Super Bowl MVP.
Mhm.
And it's just like, oh, that just proved like that it wasn't like the talent around him, because we just traded away a big part of the talent around him. Yeah, it was just crazy.
And that's another Andy Reid checkmark for me. Is
right.
because
no, 100%.
you trade away a world class player, and you still build an offense around a star, and that's awesome.
I mean, you look at the 2 touchdowns, and like those guys were 20 yards wide open.
Yep.
Like that's all scheme.
Yep.
Like I've watched so many breakdowns on like what the Chiefs were doing on those 2 plays. They ran 3 plays before each of them to set up that motion and confirm that the Eagles had not changed their scheme yet. And then they call those plays and just cook them.
Mhm.
Right? It's like we know you're not going to cover this guy because your guy is. I could go into details on the X's and O's, but basically the super schemed wide open.
Some of my students, because they always do, some of my students were like, man, the play calls really went the Chiefs' way and all this stuff. And I said, yeah, but the Chiefs had to be in a position to win the game to take advantage of anything like that, if you consider it an advantage. But then you have to, count every call that's ever been called on any NFL team all year to bring them to the point you are at the Super Bowl. It's all a million choices made by individuals hoping to get that advantage. Like that. And
I really don't like. Yeah, I don't. Go ahead.
I don't appreciate anybody who wants to talk about calls. I said, yes, there was one pivotal call in the last 2 minutes, but there are also pivotal calls every single point of the entire game, and it just seemed more important the last minute.
I cannot disagree with that point enough, because when they're like, well, you can't call it in that situation, it's like, what, there's just no defensive penalties in this situation?
Right.
Like that doesn't make sense. It's like we're still
Right.
playing the same game, right? Like, if anything, they matter so much more right now, because if you just allow them to hold on the play, it completely changes the game the other direction.
Mhm.
And so it's just idiotic. But also, like, when you think about it, like, beyond the guy did it, the guy admitted he did it, we have video evidence from 3 angles that he did the penalty. It is a penalty objectively. Everyone agrees it's a penalty. The guy who threw the ball said it's penalty. The guy who pulled him says it's penalty. And the guy who got pulled said it's penalty. It's a penalty. Like, they called it. It happened. Like, the problem is, if you think about it, like, tactically, the issue is, why did he do it? Because, like, our guy goes down at the 1, right? Because they tell him in the huddle, we're not trying to score here. Go down at the 1. We just want the first down. Like, we're trying to run the clock. So our guy is coached up in the huddle by the coaches on the sideline, calling into the huddle and telling him what to do. Their guys who are just trying to get the ball back, it doesn't matter if we score or not. They just need the ball and they can win the game.
Mhm.
Their guy commits a penalty, gives us a first down inside the 10 because he doesn't know it's okay to give up the touchdown. So he holds him trying to not give up the touchdown, which ends up losing them the game, when if he had just been coached up and told, don't commit any penalties, we'll accept the touchdown and we'll win the game anyway.
Mhm.
But no one told him that, because they were out coached. Like,
Right.
that's the difference. So even with all of that, even if you want to argue that the penalty shouldn't have been called, he shouldn't have committed the penalty, because it was never worth the risk. They had a higher chance of winning the game if they gave up the touchdown than if he doesn't get called for the penalty. Because it still would have burned a lot of the time off the clock. And their people also forget their field goal kicker was injured.
Right.
Like, they had to drive the entire field in like 40 seconds.
Which
with
is
a
not
running offense.
which is not their team's MO.
Right. Yeah, that's not what they're good at, especially when you're playing against, prevent defense and you're having to throw the ball into the middle of the field or run it.
Mhm.
Like, it doesn't work well. Anyway, I'm sure people have bleeding ears at this point about the Chiefs, but I think it's fun to talk about. So
I'm very, very proud of them. I take no credit for it. So somebody at school,
Really?
somebody at school said, "So like we did it." I go, "To be fair, we didn't do anything. Several hundreds, maybe thousands of people who get paid a lot of money to make a great entertainment worked magic and did something really improbable, but we did nothing."
Hey,
To be fair,
Parker, I did my part.
you did.
He didn't wash his jersey.
You bought
I
tickets.
didn't watch my jersey.
You bought tickets.
I bought tickets, which
Yeah.
pays their salary.
Yeah.
I go to the games, the home games,
Yeah.
and I scream my fucking ass off
No.
in the stands.
But I was talking about me and the
No,
the
right,
teacher.
I agree,
Yeah.
because you didn't go to any games this year,
I
even
went to
though I
one.
invited you several times.
I went to
Oh, you
one.
did? Which one did you go to?
It was really cold. I remember because I went the night before and bought the thickest, longest underwear I could find. And shoot, we won. I was excited that we won the game, but I can't remember who we were playing.
We
now.
only lost 3 times,
Yeah, I honestly can't remember who it was.
and I think 2 of them were away games, so it wasn't the Bills game.
No.
Ugh.
Anyway, Aaron, you ready to wrap?
What
You still
else?
playing?
What else?
What evs?
I'm ready to wrap. Let's fucking go.
Let's
Aaron,
wrap
do
it.
you want to talk about how much you liked the game?
Next cast we'll talk about how much
Next
I like
cast
the game. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, good night, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Good night.
Night.
Aaron, we're waiting on you. He's still painting.
Yeah. Well, clap on 3. She just throws paint.
1, 2, 3,
everywhere.
clap. 1, 2, 3, clap. All right.